Chapter 1349. She won't make it. Chapter 1349. She won't make it. But what this teenager called Su Hong failed to mention was that he wouldn't be able to take apart a bunch of robots the way Feng Wu had, even after he watched her do it. Does that mean that Feng Wu should be around 750th if she's included on our billboard? Tao, who had remained silent the whole time, clenched his fists and said, "She can't be higher than 700th. Lung, who darted a suspicious look at their group leader, and wondered if Feng Wu would really only be ranked in the 700s. The elite level starts from the 7th floor. Tao Hu snorted. "I'd like to see her try to get through this one." Immediately, many people grew excited. Even if Feng Wu was only 700th, that was still an amazing achievement, because that was already much better than many existing Year 2 students, and Feng Wu hadn't even gotten into Year 2 yet. For the Year 2 students, it was very difficult to move up the billboard. Therefore, under normal circumstances, Feng Wu wouldn't be able to go further than the 6th floor. The elite level starts from the 7th floor, and it's no longer all about fighting. One has to think about their moves, and that's not something Feng Wu can manage. Have we ever had a student in initial who skipped a grade and made it all the way to the 7th floor? No, we haven't, and Feng Wu won't be that person either. If I remember correctly, there's a magma beast on the 7th floor, isn't there? Feng Sun murmured as he rubbed his chin. Yes, indeed. Various emotions flashed in Chief Chiao's eyes as he studied Feng Wu, and he was lost in thought. He had believed what Chiao, he told him at first, that Feng Wu only got into Imperial College because of her pretty face and that she had become the top student of Year 1 because of her glib tongue. But as it turned out, Feng Wu wasn't just a pretty face. She was an incredible cultivator. Chief Chiao, are you suggesting that this magma beast is different from what we had before? Feng Sun's eyes flickered. Chief Chiao nodded at Feng Sun with a smile. The students have been getting better, so it's the same with the beast. It's much more powerful than when you were here. Feng Sun raised an eyebrow. So, are you saying that Xiao Wu won't be able to pass the elite level? Instantly, all eyes were on Chief Chiao. Almost all the Year 2 students had placed a bet, and most of them had bet on Feng Wu's defeat. Of the latter, most had bet that Feng Wu wouldn't pass the elite level. Right now, Feng Wu was right at the entrance to the elite level. She's not going to pass. Chief Chiao shook his head and sounded very sure. The magma beast was only a baby when you fought it, but it's a teenager now. Rubbing his chin, Feng Sun pondered. Are you sure she won't make it? Why do I feel that the elite level won't be a problem for her? Chief Chiao smiled wryly. He didn't want to argue with Feng Sun, but it didn't mean that he agreed with him. I see that Chief Chiao doesn't believe me. Feng Sun smiled. Chief Chiao shook his head. My lord, you may not know this, but less than 200 students of initial have actually passed the elite level. Everyone drew in their breaths. Chapter 1350, Magma Beast. Chapter 1350, Magma Beast. If only 200 students of initial had passed the elite level, that meant if Feng Wu passed the elite level, she would be one of the top 200 students of Year 2. She hadn't even been admitted into Year 2 yet, but she could now become one of the top 200? Dream on. The ability Feng Wu has shown so far only puts her in the 700s. How can she belong to the top 200? That's right. I admit that she's a very talented student, but even a genius needs time to grow. There's no way she'll defeat the magma beast. She's not going to pass the 7th floor. Excuse me, can I raise my stake? That's right. Count me in. Can I raise my stake as well? A moment ago, when Feng Wu passed the 6th floor, many people were surprised and amazed, but all of a sudden, they lost faith in her all over again. Feng Sun sneered at these idiotic people. What they didn't know was that Feng Wu hadn't even used her fallen star sword yet. Do you all want to raise your stakes? Great. Feng Sun glanced at Chaoga. Give them what they want. Chaoga had always been a dauntless girl. With Feng Sun's consent, she let the other people raise their stakes. In a matter of minutes, the total number of points increased significantly again. On the 7th floor inside the Dragon's Gate, Feng Wu had no idea how many points she was responsible for. Right now, she was staring at the magma beast with a serious look on her face. The magma beast was the size of a volcano and was covered in flames. Even the tips of its fur were burning, which gave it a ferocious look. Thump! The beast raised 1 foot, revealing a giant paw print on the ground. It was about the size of a bed and more than big enough for Feng Wu to fit inside. Everywhere the beast stepped, flames shot up like erupting magma. It was a very scary scene. What a terrifying beast. How was Feng Wu supposed to fight that thing? Just then, the giant magma charged at Feng Wu at a tremendous speed. But Feng Wu only remained where she was and stood her ground. What was she doing? Run. Xiao Wu, run. Xiao urged as she stared at Feng Wu and clenched her fists. Scarlet flames came out of the beast's nostrils, mouth, and enormous ears. The ground shook as it ran, sending sparks flying everywhere. How terrifying! 100 meters, 50 meters, 10 meters, just as the beast raised a paw to smack down on Feng Wu. Whoosh! Feng Wu disappeared from sight. The momentum made the beast stumble forward, and at that moment, Feng Wu reappeared behind its back. Thump! Feng Wu gave it a kick. She put all her strength in her leg, and the impact was incredible. Thump! Everyone watched in disbelief, because they saw the enormous beast stumble forward from Feng Wu's kick. Thump! Its forehead hit the ground, and it rolled forward. Everyone sucked in their breaths. That was so. All in all, the beast had underestimated Feng Wu, which made her first strike possible. It wasn't a good start for the beast at all. Chapter 1351. Ice and Earth. Chapter 1351. Ice and Earth. The scary fact was that at this advanced level, a slight mistake could ultimately lead to failure. The magma beast lost its momentum from the very beginning, which gave Feng Wu a great opportunity. As a result, Feng Wu smiled a little. She charged at the magma beast before it could stand back up. In fact, Feng Wu could have drawn out the Fallen Star Sword. Nothing would be able to compete with the Fallen Star Sword. However, that wasn't what Feng Wu did, because the magma beast wasn't important enough for her to draw out her sword. Thump! Feng Wu jumped onto the giant. Standing amidst the flames, Feng Wu waved her hand, and whoosh. It started snowing heavily. Ice and snow. Someone outside the dragon's gate cried out. Does Feng Wu have the ice attribute? Since when? Many people looked confused. As far as they could remember, Feng Wu had always had the fire attribute. When did she obtain a second attribute? And that stance she's using is very advanced. Feng Wu is so capable. I have the ice attribute as well, and I'm a spiritual elder. Why couldn't my ice extinguish the beast's fire? But Feng Wu's ice could. Ice and snow drifted down onto the magma beast. Instantly, the flames all over its body gradually went out as the snow fell. The fire is put out. The magma fire. Didn't Chief Xiao say that the beast is already a teenager? Instantly, all eyes were on Feng Wu. The teenage girl seemed to shine as resplendently as the sun. Over and over again, she did amazing things to change other people's opinion of her. That was incredible. How could a teenage girl be so impressive? Everyone was still admiring Feng Wu for what she had done when suddenly, the magma beast lying stiffly on the ground convulsed. The next second, it looked up and glared at Feng Wu. Plop, plop. Snow started falling off its body. Its eyes were scarlet red, and flames rose from its body again. Xiao Yi was thrilled. She cried out, "The beast is back on its feet. The beast is back on its feet." Immediately, a lot of people looked at her. Someone murmured, "Isn't Miss Xiao Yi the daughter of Chief Xiao and a Year 1 teacher? So, she's Feng Wu's teacher, isn't she? Why is she so eager to see Feng Wu fail? I saw the bet she put in. It's a lot higher than ours. She's so..." However, Xiao Yi didn't hear any of that. Right now, all her attention was on Feng Wu. Feng Wu saw the beast wake up and new flames sprout. So what? She had extinguished the fire on a magma beast before, so of course she could do it again. Come, ice and snow. With a wave of her hand, ice and snow started falling again. They immediately put out the new flames rising from the magma beast. Everyone watched with their mouths agape. Seeing that things had turned against it, the beast turned to flee. Feng Wu smiled and lightly touched the ground with a fingertip. Whoosh! Chapter 1352, Purple Vines. Chapter 1352, Purple Vines. Everywhere Feng Wu touched, spikes shot out of the ground. Gosh, how did Feng Wu learn icy spikes? Isn't that an advanced skill only for Year 2 students? How can she do it? No, you're missing the point here. One has to have both ice and earth attributes to pull it off. Does Feng Wu have the earth attribute? So, she has fire, ice, and earth attributes now? That's just. Many people were astonished. Once more, they were amazed by Feng Wu's performance. And they weren't alone. Even Feng Sun was shocked by what Feng Wu was doing. Since when did little Feng Wu obtain the earth attribute? Feng Sun turned to Xian Yi and asked, Xian II, did you know about this? Xian Yi shook his head. He had no idea either. Feng Sun rubbed his chin. What else is the girl keeping from us? Can't she keep a lower profile? The very conspicuous Feng Wu had reached the 8th floor. It was also the 8th trial. Feng Wu narrowed her eyes when she entered the floor, because she couldn't see anyone anywhere. Looking around, she saw that the ground was covered with purple vines which had little white flowers scattered among them. But where was everyone? Looking around, Feng Wu couldn't see anyone. That only made her more wary. All of a sudden, she detected that a thin vine had suddenly wrapped itself around her ankle. Watch out! Many people outside cried out. However, both of Feng Wu's feet were already caught by the vine. The purple vine had been moving tentatively at first, but after it caught Feng Wu, it grew bolder and started moving faster. The vine was only as thin as a finger at first, but gradually became as thick as a baby's arm. In a matter of seconds, it was wrapped tightly around Feng Wu. OMG! Shit! Feng Wu is tied up. Is she going to fail? Many people were worried about her. Meanwhile, Feng Wu still remained unperturbed. If one had to point out what had changed, the only difference was that the look in her eyes had become more fierce and profound. Squeak! The purple vine began to wrap tightly around Feng Wu's body. Feng Wu was a slim girl to begin with, and the vine around her body only made her look slimmer. Outside, many people had confidence in Feng Wu at first, but now, when they saw how the purple vine was wrapped around her, they held their breaths anxiously. But there were those who let out breaths of relief. Please strangle Feng Wu. Let her fail, please. Don't let her pass the 8th floor. That way, we'll all win. Many people had bet heavily on Feng Wu's failure, so if Feng Wu made it through the elite level, they would lose so many points. Crack! The creepy sound went on. Feng Wu's body twisted under the pressure. Feng Wu is going to be killed. That was the thought in many people's heads. Even Feng Sun had gotten to his feet nervously as he stared at Feng Wu. He had broken into a cold sweat and was so afraid that something would happen to Feng Wu. Chapter 1353, The Amazing Feng Wu 1. Chapter 1353, The Amazing Feng Wu 1. Feng Sun recalled that Feng Wu still hadn't used her Fallen Star Sword yet. Use it now. Use your Fallen Star Sword. Does she want to be killed? Seeing the vine wrap even tighter around Feng Wu, Feng Sun clenched his fists. And what was Feng Wu doing right now? It was true. When the purple vine had wrapped around her at first, Feng Wu really felt unable to move at all. Crack! The purple vine kept tightening around her. Feng Wu could feel the pain. Should she use the Fallen Star Sword, her ultimate weapon? An idea suddenly struck her. She recalled a little trick which her beautiful master taught her when she was little. In plain terms, it allowed her to shrink to a smaller size. Being a smart girl, Feng Wu mastered the skill almost immediately. According to the beautiful master, this skill was only a petty trick to help her relax. Now that she was tied up by the vine, however, Feng Wu realized that this petty trick could do so much more than help her relax. In a critical moment like this, it could save her life. When everyone thought she was still tied up by the vine, she had already slipped out of the cocoon from the other side. But because of the angle, almost no one outside saw what she did. Almost. What's she doing? Is she willing to die for this stupid challenge? Feng Sun was exasperated, because the purple vine was killing her. What was more, it was especially tight around her waist. Feng Wu is doomed. She's trapped inside, and the purple vine has gained the upper hand. She has no way out now. Look, that vine is so tight around Feng Wu's waist. That waistline can't be bigger than 60 centimeters. I know. How many people can have such a tiny waist? Feng Wu is going to be cut in half. Look, it's still growing tighter. 58, 57, 56, 55. Oh God. Feng Sun was on edge as well. Has little Feng Wu lost her mind? Why won't she use her fallen star sword? She obviously has it. No one answered him. Exasperated, Feng Sun grabbed Jun Linyuan. Boss Jun, do something. Aren't you worried? The Crown Prince gave Feng Sun a bewildered look. Worried? About what? Little Feng Wu is going to be snapped in half. Aren't you concerned? Feng Sun was almost in tears. Jun Linyuan only glanced at him indifferently and asked, "What's there to be concerned about?" Feng Sun. He almost exploded when he heard those words from Jun Linyuan. The surrounding girls, on the other hand, were thrilled. They didn't say anything, but it was all in their eyes. Did you hear that? Did you? His Royal Highness couldn't care less about Feng Wu dying. I don't think he'll be affected by Feng Wu's death at all. Who said that His Royal Highness cares about Feng Wu? That's just preposterous. Chapter 1354. The Amazing Feng Wu 2. Chapter 1354. The Amazing Feng Wu 2. Seeing that Feng Wu was going to die and that the Crown Prince didn't care about her, all the girls were over the moon. But soon, 45 centimeters, 40 centimeters, 35 centimeters. Wait, no one's waist can be as small as 35 centimeters. It's 30 now. 25 centimeters. Oh God, 10 centimeters. Crack. The cocoon snapped in half. Outside. Is Feng Wu dead? Is she really dead? What a shame. Why did she have to be so stubborn? That's why you shouldn't bite off more than you can chew. Otherwise, you'll end up like Feng Wu. Many people sighed, but they gloated over Feng Wu's predicament at the same time. Xiao, he had never felt so happy before. She was ecstatic. Feng Wu is dead just like that. How wonderful. However, before her smile could grow wider, things took a turn. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The purple vine started retreating, as if its soul was being sucked out. The vine was almost 1,000 meters long and seemed to have a mind of its own. As the vine retreated, it gradually exposed the ground beneath it, and translucent bones were scattered all over the place. Are those the bones of magical beasts devoured by the vine? Gosh, this purple vine feeds on flesh and blood. Hey, where's the vine going? Why did it disappear so suddenly? Everyone was still feeling baffled when they saw what had really happened. When the mist dissipated, they could see the core of the vine, and they were shocked. The core of the purple vine did exist. Moreover, the core had shrunk into a ball, and someone was holding it. The fact that the core had shrunk wasn't scary, but the person was. OMG. Oh my God. No. No way. That's impossible. Isn't Feng Wu dead? Didn't the vine cut her in half? Why is she still alive? Not only is she alive, from the looks of it, she has also taken control of the vine's core. If she controls the core, she controls this massive purple vine. But why is she still alive? How did she survive? And she didn't even seem injured. Outside, the Year 2 students were almost driven mad by all the surprises Feng Wu gave them. Why did their school have such a student? How did she do it? Is she even human? Does she have supernatural powers? Feng Sun was the happiest of them all. Ha ha ha. I knew it. I knew little Feng Wu was going to be all right. She's incredible. The Crown Prince glanced at him. Recalling how anxious he had been earlier, Feng Sun blushed. Boss Jun, you knew all along that Feng would already escaped, didn't you? Feng Sun asked Jun Linyuan. He wasn't expecting an answer, but the crown prince said, yup. Feng Sun looked like he'd seen a ghost. Boss Jun just admitted it. Chapter 1355, The Amazing Feng Wu 3. Chapter 1355, The Amazing Feng Wu 3. Of these people, Xiao Yi was the most devastated of them all. Right now, she had clenched her fists and was shaking from head to toe. Her eyes practically spat fire. How can this be? Isn't she supposed to be dead? Why is she still alive? Why? Xiao Yi gritted her teeth and bit her lower lip so hard that it bled. Feng Wu had no idea of the complicated feelings which the others had about her. Right now, she was squinting at the purple vine in her hand. In fact, she had known from the very beginning that she had to solve the problem at its root. The purple vine had covered the entire place, but Feng Wu had been convinced that it had to have a core somewhere. If she could take control of the core, the vine would no longer be a threat. Thus, as soon as she slipped out of the vine, Feng Wu had immediately headed for the core. Other people might not know where the core was, but Feng Wu did, because she knew formations. The vine had been arranged in a formation, and Feng Wu was able to calculate where the core was. Most people only learn formation skills by the book, but Feng Wu was able to apply the logic of formations to other problems. That was why Feng Wu was able to take control of the core and defeat the vine so easily. Then, Feng Wu stared at the core. The look on her face had never been so serious. Under her gaze, the core began to shrink. At first, it was the size of a football, but it grew smaller and smaller until it was only the size of an egg. Feng Wu stuffed it into her sleeve and happily moved on to the next floor. Outside, many people were astonished again. Wait a minute, what was that? Feng Wu took the core. That purple vine is the trial itself, and a very rare spirit plant, but she just took it with her. Instantly, everyone turned to Chief Xiao in bewilderment. Can we take away whatever has been placed inside the dragon's gate? Chief Xiao was as dumbfounded as they were. He said, of course not. But didn't Feng Wu do exactly that? Chief Xiao was speechless. He had taught here for many years, but this was the first time he had seen someone remove an examiner from its floor. Wait, that's hardly the point here. The more important thing is that Feng Wu is already on the 9th floor. That's the last trial at the elite level. If she passes this one, a lot of people here are going to lose. Instantly, they all fell silent. That was right. In order to make Feng Wu lose more points, they had bet heavily. A lot of people had staked all their points. Who could have known? I never thought Feng Wu would get this far. And she just keeps giving us pleasant surprises. That's not pleasant at all. It's frightening. So, Feng Wu isn't going to pass the 9th floor, is she? Many people pressed their palms together and prayed in silence, hoping that Feng Wu would fail this trial. Meanwhile, Feng Wu was on the 9th floor and had narrowed her eyes. How much time do I have? She asked the fairy the question in her head. Chapter 1356, The Amazing Feng Wu 4. Chapter 1356, The Amazing Feng Wu 4. The fairy was impressed by Feng Wu's quick progress as well, and she sounded very excited. Don't worry, you were very efficient, and we still have 30 minutes left. Feng Wu smiled wryly. How could she not worry? The first few floors were so easy, but it had taken her half an hour to pass them. She still had quite a few floors left. Time was of the essence here. She was on the 9th floor now. What's this trial about? Many people watched curiously, but they couldn't figure it out. Listen, do you hear that? Someone cried out. Instantly, everyone stopped talking, and silence fell over the square. Cuckoo, cuckoo. What's that? Is that a bird? Why birds? Can they stop Feng Wu? Wait, I know what it is. I read about it in Strange Creatures of the East. Those are laughing cuckoos. What's a laughing cuckoo? They twitch when they laugh, and they start spitting black liquid out of their beaks. As soon as that liquid touches a person, that person will turn black, become weak, and can't activate their spiritual essence at all. All it takes is one drop of that liquid. However, that liquid contains a rich amount of spiritual essence. Once the toxin is removed, it'll be edible and will help one's cultivation greatly. Therefore, this trial is dangerous, but it's a great opportunity as well. Instantly, all eyes were on Feng Wu. There were so many laughing cuckoos, and they were all flapping their wings. The inky liquid they spat out rained down. So what could Feng Wu do to keep the liquid from touching her? All it would take was just one drop to paralyze her. All eyes were on Feng Wu. Even the powerful crown prince didn't look away from her. What a girl. No one noticed the little smile on his face. Nor did they see his flickering eyes. Feng Wu had no idea that so many eyes were on her. Right now, she had narrowed her eyes and was staring at the laughing cuckoos. The laughing, part of their name was very accurate for right now. They were all cracking up like crazy people. As they laughed, the toxic inky liquid dripped down from their beaks. 1, 2, 3, 4. Feng Wu counted in her head. There were 999 of them in total. That was incredible. This was the hardest trial Feng Wu had run into since entering the Dragon's Gate. Some of the previous trials might have been difficult, but she knew how to solve them. But now, she was at a loss. Could she wrap herself up to cover all her skin? Any other day, Feng Wu would have that option because she had her ring space. But she was inside the Dragon's Gate now, and she knew Chief Chiao would be able to see her. So, she decided to play it safe. If she couldn't do anything about herself, she would have to do something about the birds. It's been 3 minutes, the fairy prompted when she saw that Feng Wu wasn't taking any action. Feng Wu bit her lower lip. She still didn't know what to do. Chapter 1357. The Amazing Feng Wu 5. Chapter 1357. The Amazing Feng Wu 5. The fairy sighed and said in a sorry voice, I wish I could help you, but even if I can come out, I'm still too tiny. I can only stop a few birds at most. Outside, everyone was nervously watching Feng Wu. Most of them had bet on Feng Wu failing at the elite level, so they were all praying inwardly. Lu Yuntao, did you bet on Feng Wu not being able to pass the elite level as well? Leng Hu glanced at Lu Yuntao. Lu Yuntao said, yes. Leng Hu asked, how many points did you use? Lu Yuntao showed her 2 fingers. 200, asked Leng Hu. Lu Yuntao shook his head. 2,000, he shook his head again. 20,000, Lu Yuntao looked like he was going to cry. Yes. Leng Hu said, have you lost your mind? Do you even have that many points? Wait. Lu Yuntao gave Leng Hu a pleading look and didn't know what to say. Don't tell me that you put all of Tiger Head's points in. Leng Hu wanted to smack Lu Yuntao in the head. Lu Yuntao said timidly, you said Feng Wu wasn't that capable at all, so I thought, why waste such a great opportunity? It's not like this is going to happen every day. Leng Hu wanted to slap him. Gu Honglang stopped Leng Hu. Don't hit him. Anyway, we don't know the final result yet. Leng Hu rolled her eyes at him. Have you seen what Feng Wu has done so far? Of course, she's going to pass the 9th floor. I'm sure of it. If that's the case, why is she still standing there? Gu Honglang smirked. Leng Hu turned to look at Feng Wu. He was right. Feng Wu really was still standing there with a big frown on her face. That immediately cheered Lu Yuntao and Leng Hu up. Their eyes practically sparkled. However, that good mood didn't last very long. Whoosh! Feng Wu raised her hand, and something flew into the air. What the hell? Everyone stared at it in bewilderment. Soon, they found out what Feng Wu had been doing while she had been standing there. OMG. Is that even doable? Feng Wu is so. How can someone be so smart? How? So, what was it that had surprised everyone? The thing Feng Wu threw into the air was none other than the core of the vine, which she had brought with her from the 8th floor. Feng Wu's original plan was to take the core back home and plant it in Fallen Star Yard. It had a formation of its own and was portable. With this core, her family would be much safer, and she would be able to take more risks. However, reality never turned out the way one hoped. The core told her that all of the magical beasts and plants in the Dragon's Gate were bound by spells. As long as the spells were still active, they could never leave this place. Since she couldn't take it away, Feng Wu decided to make good use of it. She had been knitting just then. She knitted the vine into a dense net, which was an idea she had gotten from her experience on the 8th floor. Therefore, when everyone else thought that Feng Wu had run out of options, she already had a plan and had started working on it. By now, Feng Wu had made the vine into a big net. Chapter 1358. Chapter 1358. An Ideal Future Husband. The laughing cuckoos were still guffawing and sneering at Feng Wu when they were ensnared in the net. Whoosh! With a swift movement, the net caught all 999 birds. Outside the Dragon's Gate, some were excited, some disappointed, and some cried until they collapsed. I can't believe it. This Feng Wu is such a genius. She took something away from the 8th floor and used it on the 9th floor. Is this really her first time taking the challenge? Just when everyone thought that Feng Wu was going to rush to the 10th floor, which was the start of the hell level, Feng Wu stopped. Not only did she stop, she also turned around and walked up to the net. A transparent vial was hanging under the net, and it was now filled with that toxic inky liquid. It was taken from all the laughing cuckoos. As for the birds themselves, the purple vine had already crushed them. Gosh, Feng Wu has so much inky liquid now. It'll be so beneficial for cultivation. After she comes out, I'll try to buy some from her. Me too. Just then, Xiao, he spoke in a cold voice. Have you forgotten the bet? That immediately woke everyone up. They suddenly realized, oh God, I put in 3,000 points. I put in 5,000. It's 10,000 for me. Despair filled their hearts, and they were all shocked. Judging by the loud wails, most of the people here had bet on Feng Wu not passing the elite level. Every member of Tiger Head looked defeated, except for Lung Hu. Aren't you sad? They all looked at her. She glanced at the others and said, That's not what I bet on. Gu Honglang said, Did you bet on her not passing the difficult level? Lung Hu rolled her eyes at him. Do I look like an idiot to you? Why would I do that? Then what did you bet on? The others all looked at Lung Hu. Lung Hu raised her chin. What do you think? They asked. It's not the hell level, is it? Lung Hu asked, why not? Don't you hate Feng Wu the most? Why did you bet on that? Lung Hu rolled her eyes again. I hate her, but I don't hate the idea of more points. The others were rendered speechless. Staring at her, they said, We thought you didn't think Feng Wu would do well. Lung Hu stared at them as if they were idiots. I don't, but I do have faith in young Lord Feng and His Royal Highness's judgment. That was a very reasonable argument. Right now, Feng Sun was the happiest person in the crowd. Ha ha, Chaoga, many people bet that Feng Wu would stop at the elite level, didn't they? The crowd around him didn't look too happy. Chaoga nodded and said matter-of-factly, The total pool is 2 million points, and a little over 1 million of them was for Feng Wu not passing the elite level. Adding in those who bet that Feng Wu would fail at the common and difficult levels, that's 5 million points. The other 500,000 points are on her making it to the hell level. Chaoga said, however, no one has even mentioned the insane level. Chapter 1359, Gongshu Yunruo. Chapter 1359, Gongshu Yunruo. Instantly, Feng Sun didn't feel so happy anymore. Because the terms were that if Feng Wu couldn't pass the hell level, Feng Sun would have to pay back 3 times his bet. That was to say, if that happened, Feng Sun wasn't going to gain any points. He stretched out one hand to Chaoga, who bet so heavily on the hell level. Show me the list. After glancing at the list, he asked, Who the hell is Shu Yunruo? Most people on that list had only put in a few thousand points, but Shu Yunruo had put in 400,000. A handsome teenager stepped out of the crowd and smiled at Feng Sun. Hello, Brother Feng. Gongshu Yunruo. It's you. Feng Sun rolled his eyes at Shu Yunruo. Shu Yunruo was the son and official heir to the Gongshu family. For some undisclosed reason, He had changed his name to Shu Yunruo when he came to study at Imperial College. Immediately, a lot of people stared at him in amazement. Gongshu Yunruo, Gongshu, as in the legendary Gongshu family. Gongshu, Xian Yi glanced at Feng Sun. Feng Sun nodded. That's right. He's that kid from the Gongshu family. When we visited Taiyuan before, he used to follow us everywhere. Shu Yunruo rubbed his nose in embarrassment. When Taiyuan and the Gongshu family were mentioned, everyone realized who the teenager was. This Shu Yunruo was the most important descendant and the first in line to inherit the Gongshu family, one of the 9 major clans. Many girls' pupils contracted when they heard that, and Lung, who was no exception. They had been classmates for so long, but they didn't know that Shu Yunruo had such a background, which had just turned him into the ideal future husband. Didn't they say that Shu Yunruo is an orphan from some remote mountain? What are you thinking? When was the last time you saw a village boy who looked like that? He totally has that unapproachable look that belongs to the son of an old and well-known family. What a shame. If I had known earlier, I would have tried to become friends with him. It's not like he would actually agree to be your friend. Over on the other side, Feng Sun patted Shu Yunruo on the shoulder and said, Hey, brother Yunruo, that's not very nice. You bet 400,000 points. Are you trying to take away all my winnings? Shu Yunruo smiled at Feng Sun. So, brother Feng, are you suggesting that I should change my stake? Feng Sun asked, What would you like to change it to? The insane level, said Shu Yunruo with a smile. I'd like to bet all my 400,000 on Feng Wu entering the insane level. Feng Sun stared at Shu Yunruo in disbelief. Are you out of your mind? He wasn't the only one who felt that way. The insane level? Did Shu Yunruo just say that Feng Wu could get to the insane level? Wow. Shu Yunruo has to be out of his mind. That's impossible. There's no way that Feng Wu can go that far. She'll never be able to get through the hell level. Why does Shu Yunruo have so much confidence in Feng Wu? Do they know each other well? Everyone had their own speculations. Meanwhile, Feng Sun looked at Shu Yunruo in bewilderment. Are you sure you want to change it? Chapter 1360. Chapter 1360. Kill the person she hates the most. Shu Yunruo smiled and said yes. Feng Sun asked why. Shu Yunruo said, Because I have faith in Feng Wu. Feng Sun grumbled inwardly. Even didn't have that much faith in Feng Wu. Deep down, he was convinced that she wouldn't be able to pass the hell level. He was about to make the change when he heard a cold voice. No, it was the Crown Prince himself. Feng Sun and the others exchanged bewildered looks. Tilting his head, the Crown Prince stared at Shu Yunruo with cold, piercing eyes. Shu Yunruo shuddered and was overwhelmed with fear. A cold sensation ran down his spine. Those eyes were so terrifying that he was awestruck and intimidated. Shu Yunruo, the known genius of Imperial College, didn't dare meet the Crown Prince's eyes. In the Dragon's Gate, Feng Wu took down the bottle filled with the toxic inky liquid, sealed it with a cork, and put it into her sleeve. She then moved to the next floor. Each level consisted of 3 trials. Thus, the 4th, 7th, and 10th floors represented the 3 thresholds. The 10th floor. How much time do I have? The smell of blood filled Feng Wu's nostrils when she stood at the entrance to the 10th floor. She frowned and narrowed her eyes. The fairy said, You have 25 minutes left. Feng Wu nodded. Before she knew it, she had gripped the fallen star sword on her back, and the look on her face had never been so stern. Seeing the look on her face, the crowd grew nervous as well. What awaited Feng Wu on the 10th floor? Blood, red, warm blood slowly oozed out through the gap under the door. Feng Wu was even more wary. The door was unlatched. Feng Wu held the hilt of the fallen star sword in her right hand and narrowed her eyes. She needed to be very cautious now. The door finally opened. Many people were frightened when they saw what was inside. There's so much blood. Feng Wu stepped right into it. Everywhere she turned, she could see nothing but blood, and the red color gave her the creeps. The dangerous feeling made Feng Wu narrow her eyes. All of a sudden, her head went blank, and a wretched feeling swept over her. Rumble. A voice suddenly rang out. Welcome to the hell level, little girl. Yes, this is that legendary place. Here, you'll experience the joy of killing. After a pause, the sinister voice rang out again. You can kill whomever you hate in Imperial College. Little girl, close your eyes and picture the person you hate the most in Imperial College. Ha ha ha. The evil voice trailed off. However, that eerie, suffocating feeling still lingered in everyone's heads. The person said that Feng Wu could kill the person she hated the most. Hey, who do you think Feng Wu hates the most in Imperial College? Lung Hu chuckled and was intrigued. Well, a lot of people hated Feng Wu, but no one knew whom Feng Wu hated, which only made them even more curious. What if I don't hate anyone? Feng Wu's eyes snapped open, and she stared at a spot in the air. Chapter 1361. Chapter 1361. Isn't it fun? That spot was where the evil sound had come from. You need to choose at least 5 people. It hadn't gone away. Feng Wu pursed her lips and looked troubled. What if I can't come up with 5 names? The voice snickered. Then you lose. Feng Wu was speechless. Outside, many eyes were on Feng Wu, and they were all curious about the name she would give. Meanwhile, Feng Sun felt conflicted. He pulled Xian Yi to the side and asked, Hey, do you think little Feng will give Boss Jun's name? What? Even someone as level-headed as Xian Yi couldn't stay calm anymore. He couldn't imagine what would happen if Jun Lingyuan's name came up. Watch your mouth. Xian Yi threw Feng Sun a dirty look. Covering his mouth, Feng Sun looked flustered. Of course I don't want it to happen, but if it does, that'll be a disaster. Both Xian Yi and Feng Sun were on edge. Look, someone has shown up. One of the students cried out. Whoosh! All eyes were on the big screen. Standing in front of Feng Wu was none other than a person that everyone knew. Miss Qiao Yi. Wow, goodness, it's her. If I remember correctly, Miss Qiao Yi is Chief Qiao's daughter, isn't she? Not only is she Chief Qiao's daughter, she's the class teacher of the new Year 1 students as well. She's Feng Wu's teacher. The crowd was speechless. Some of the students were still looking at Feng Wu, while the others stared at Qiao Yi. Qiao Yi was dumbfounded. Her head had gone blank, and she felt humiliated and furious. Her face then turned from scarlet red to purple. She had never felt so embarrassed before. Qiao Yi had never been publicly humiliated like this. Clenching her fists, she trembled uncontrollably. The searching looks in the eyes of the others felt like blades on her skin. Meanwhile, thump! Feng Wu struck out without hesitation. Her fist smashed into Qiao Yi's nose. Whoosh! Blood gushed out, splashing everywhere. Outside, the real Qiao Yi didn't feel the pain, but the humiliation she felt was even worse. Thump! 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 Feng Wu threw one punch after another. Poor Qiao Yi. She could only endure the strikes because she wasn't allowed to fight back. Seeing Qiao Yi's bruised face, Feng Wu couldn't stand it anymore. She stared at the pair of eyes in the ceiling. Can I just slit her throat or something? The evil face in the ceiling guffawed. Aren't you enjoying it? Enjoying it? Feng Wu shook her head impatiently. It's such a waste of time. Everyone outside was speechless. Poor Qiao Yi. After beating her up like that, Feng Wu only found the whole thing a waste of her time. That was so brutal. No, you can't. You have to hit them for at least a minute, and they won't even fight back. That's the rule. Chapter 1362. Chapter 1362. Their goddess is beaten up one. Feng Wu said, What kind of crappy rule is that? In front of the screen. Qiao Yi was really crying now, because she was both infuriated and flustered. She tugged at Chief Qiao's sleeve. Father, she's humiliating me. Look at her. The other people all nodded. That was indeed a humiliation. Chief Qiao patted Qiao Yi's head in resignation. Qiao Yi went on crying. Father, are you going to let her do that to me? That's not fair. Chief Chow felt utterly helpless as well. He could only tell his daughter, "Actually, that's a fair trial." "Chow," he cried loudly. "How can it be fair? I won't accept it." Chief Chow explained, "That's a reward for her passing the first 9 trials. Anyone who reaches the 10th floor is given this opportunity." Chow, he was speechless. Meanwhile, the Chow E on screen had her throat slit open. Seeing this, the real Chow, he felt a chill run down her spine. She touched her neck involuntarily and was relieved to find her head still attached. "Look, the second one is coming out." No one had time to feel sorry for Chow E. Right now, all eyes were on Feng Wu. They were curious about the second person whom Feng Wu hated. Feng Sun and Xian E exchanged looks, and both seemed worried. Just then, there was a whooshing sound. A figure appeared in front of Feng Wu. "Zhuo Qingyu!" Everyone cried out in surprise. They all knew who Zhuo Qingyu was. She was the prom queen of Year 2 and the most admired goddess of Initial. Zhuo Qingyu stood calmly in front of Feng Wu. In her white dress, she looked like a fairy from another world. The real Zhuo Qingyu was in the crowd as well. Her face had gone pale, and her hands clenched into fists. She wanted to kill Feng Wu. The students of Initial were all about studying, and they knew nothing about the feud between Feng Wu and Zhuo Qingyu. They were dumbfounded and felt conflicted when they saw the others with Qingyu. They couldn't believe that their goddess was going to get beaten up. Why does Feng Wu hate Goddess Qingyu? Do they know each other? Goddess Qingyu is so smart and pretty, and she has such a mild temper as well. Although she's from an influential family, she has never treated us differently. She's always respected everyone. Can Feng Wu bring herself to hit such a nice young lady? If Feng Wu does anything to hurt Qingyu, I'll make her pay. Look, Lu Chenhua is here. He's Goddess Qingyu's most loyal suitor. He's 9th on the billboard. Meanwhile, Lu Chenhua walked up to Zhuo Qingyu with a frown on his face. He said, "Qingyu, I'll protect you." Xiao, he was probably the only one who could understand what Zhuo Qingyu was going through now. Zhuo Qingyu knew that she couldn't lose her temper, because only the weak could earn other people's sympathy and public opinion. Biting her lower lip, Zhuo Qingyu made tears well up in her eyes, but she wouldn't let herself cry. Everyone felt their hearts go out to Zhuo Qingyu when they saw the look on her face. Chapter 1363. Their goddess is beaten up too. Chapter 1363. Their goddess is beaten up too. Immediately, a lot of people were furious at Feng Wu and felt sorry for Zhuo Qingyu. Zhuo Qingyu's eyes shone coldly as she watched Feng Wu relentlessly beat her up on the other end. "Feng Wu, I'll remember this. I'll make you pay for everything you've done today." Feng Wu went on throwing punches at Zhuo Qingyu. It was so strange to see their goddess turn into a punch bag. A lot of the year, 2 female students didn't like Zhuo Qingyu. Therefore, they almost couldn't contain their excitement when they saw Feng Wu turn Zhuo Qingyu into a sandbag. Since the enemy of an enemy was a friend, a lot of the girls already liked Feng Wu a lot more. Feng Wu had no idea of any of this. Her top priority now was to get through the 5 people as quickly as possible. She vented her sarcasm inwardly as she threw punches. What a waste of time. She had to punch these people until there was blood. Using a weapon would be so much more efficient. She could finish all 5 of them in a minute. The 1 minute finally passed. Feng Wu drew out her fallen star sword immediately and cut Zhuo Qingyu's head off. Although it was only a virtual image, it looked real enough. Blood gushed out from where a head used to be. Outside, everyone paled when they saw this. The way Feng Wu cut down Zhuo Qingyu's body was so intimidating. Feeling a chill run down her spine, Zhuo Qingyu involuntarily touched her own head. Just then, Feng Wu suddenly turned her head. She just happened to look in the direction of Zhuo Qingyu outside. Zhuo Qingyu knew perfectly well that Feng Wu couldn't possibly see her, but the look still gave her the creeps. Her stomach lurched, and she looked away. Feng Wu didn't think much of this incident, but the scene would become Zhuo Qingyu's recurring nightmare. Then it was time for the third person. Who will it be? The onlookers were all a little excited. It felt like prying into Feng Wu's secrets, and they were thrilled and scared at the same time. Those that felt scared were all Feng Wu's acquaintances. The students who had never met Feng Wu before wouldn't have had any conflict with her, so Feng Wu had no reason to hate them. Meanwhile, Feng Wu felt like screaming. Who else did she hate? As a matter of fact, she hated neither Qiao, Yi, or Zhuo Qingyu, because they hadn't actually hurt her. To her, those two people were like fleas hopping around her. What they did wasn't serious enough to make her hate them, but they could be quite annoying. She had picked those two people with much difficulty, but now she would need a third one. Feng Wu racked her brain. Fine. Everyone was dumbfounded when they saw the next person. That was because Chief Qiao. Gosh, Feng Wu is so. Does she have a death wish? How could she? Does she want to stay in initial or not? That's the head teacher of year 2. Feng Wu has to know that we're all watching this, right? Everyone was thrilled when Chief Qiao appeared on the 10th floor. Feng Wu was going to beat up a teacher. To be more precise, that was the head teacher of year 2. How exciting. Do it. Do it now. Everyone urged Feng Wu in their heads. Meanwhile, Chief Qiao was dumbfounded. He had been a teacher for many years, but this was the first time he was put in such a situation. Chapter 1364. Chapter 1364. Their goddess is beaten up 3. Feng Wu was as baffled as Chief Qiao was. She gave the Chief Qiao copy a strange look. Her lips moved, but she didn't know what to say. The options were so limited. She had to pick 5 people from Imperial College, but she didn't know many people here to begin with, let alone hate them. Therefore, do you think Feng Wu will really do it? I don't think so. That's Chief Qiao. Hit him, and her life in year 2 will be miserable. That's right. I bet she won't do it. She'll switch to another person. Even Feng Sun was amazed. That girl was amazing. Even Feng Sun hadn't dared confront Chief Qiao in public like this when he was a student here. That was so incredible. When everyone was convinced that Feng Wu was going to switch to another person, thump! Feng Wu raised a fist and punched Chief Qiao in the eye. The force she exerted was incredible. Chief Qiao was almost sent into the air by that punch. A dead silence fell over the place. Everyone stared at Feng Wu in astonishment. They couldn't believe their eyes. They admired Feng Wu from the bottom of their hearts. She did it. Is she out of her mind? Isn't she afraid that Chief Qiao will get his revenge later? As a matter of fact, Feng Wu really didn't know, because her top priority now was to finish the task as soon as possible and move to the next floor. As for Chief Qiao, he had failed to live up to his promise, and he didn't deserve her respect. Meanwhile, Chief Qiao had clenched his fists and was staring at Feng Wu with a livid face. Damn it! He couldn't believe that a student would dare do this to him. Chief Qiao was furious. On the other side, Feng Wu had grabbed him by the hair and was punching him in the stomach. She shouted angrily as she beat him. This is for you to eat your words, and this is for making me take the Dragon's Gate challenge. Chief Qiao's face almost turned purple, and his eyes spat fire. That 1 minute felt like a century to Chief Qiao. Finally, it was over. When Feng Wu finally cut Chief Qiao's head off, many people gave her looks of admiration mixed with sympathy. They were convinced that her life would be miserable here in initial. As for the last 2 individuals, Feng Wu randomly picked 2 members from Tiger Head, Lung Hu and Gu Honglang, since she simply hadn't interacted with a lot of people here. This trial was supposed to be the most relaxing one, but Feng Wu only considered it a waste of time. When Feng Wu looked at the eyes in the ceiling, that wicked voice rang out again. Well, this is it. You've finished the trial. Feng Wu said, Did you just waste my 5 minutes for fun? The voice chuckled. Aren't you happy? Don't you feel relaxed? Doesn't revenge excite you? Feng Wu said, No. She asked, Can I go up now? If you're prepared, go ahead. Feng Wu suddenly narrowed her eyes and asked, What's the 11th floor like? She could smell a conspiracy. Tee. The evil voice chuckled in satisfaction. Young lady, you'll love it. Chapter 1365, The Hidden Challenge. Chapter 1365, The Hidden Challenge. After that, the voice disappeared, and no matter how Feng Wu tried to talk to it again, it never responded. Feng Wu was speechless. What kind of hidden danger was on the 11th floor? As she walked toward the 11th floor, the students outside were still savoring the image of Feng Wu beating Chief Chiao up. As soon as Feng Wu took the first step, there was a whooshing sound. The tiger cub fell out of her ring space, and it fell to the ground. Feng Wu's pupils contracted. What on earth was going on here? The tiger cub still hadn't woken up after absorbing the abnormal flame the other day. Clearly, some strange power had drawn it out of the ring space. But what concerned Feng Wu more was, if the tiger cub could be dragged out, what about her beautiful master? That evil voice was back. Young lady, I didn't expect to find such a treasure on you. It was so easy to get it out. This thing, Feng Wu frowned. The way it was teasing her reminded her of a cat playing with its food, which irritated her. If it could take the cub out, what about her beautiful master? Feng Wu was flustered by that idea. Seeing Feng Wu clench her fists, the evil voice giggled eerily again. Just then, whoosh, there was a flash of white light. The cub flew out of Feng Wu's hands, as if an invisible thread was pulling it away. Feng Wu watched as the cub was taken from her. Get it back to me. Feng Wu suddenly felt desperate. Get it back in 5 minutes, or else it will die. Ha ha. The evil voice guffawed again. Thump. Feng Wu kicked the unlatched door open. The moment the door opened, blood gushed out at her face. Feng Wu turned sideways, dodging it. When she regained her footing, she saw that the spot where she had been standing was now covered with blood. In Feng Wu's eyes, this floor had just turned into a verdant mountain, and she was standing at the bottom of the slope. The owner of the evil voice was gripping the tiger cub that was still sound asleep. His hand was around its neck. One squeeze, and the cub will be decapitated. Come to me, my young lady, ha ha, he guffawed in his sinister voice. Feng Wu clenched her fists. Outside, Feng Sun frowned and whispered to Xian, that voice wasn't there when we were students, right? Xian nodded silently. Pursing his lips, Feng Sun said, and why does it sound so annoying? Xian nudged Feng Sun with his elbow and gestured at Jun Lin Yuan. Feng Sun looked up and saw that Boss Jun's face had gone very tense. He had pursed his thin lips, and his eyes were like bottomless pits. He was back to looking like an imposing ruler of the continent. That was so frightening. Meanwhile, Feng Wu had reached over her right shoulder and grabbed the hilt of her fallen star sword. She finally understood. This evil man was keeping the tiger cub captive to force her to fight her way from the bottom to the top of the mountain. As far as the eye could see, the slope was lined with people who were spaced out by 10 paces, and Feng Wu only had 5 minutes. She had to get to the top of the slope before her time ran out. Chapter 1366, The Unbelievable Feng Wu. Chapter 1366, The Unbelievable Feng Wu. Feng Wu only made it 10 steps before she was stopped. A man dressed like a bandit blocked her way. Before she could say a word, the man in a headscarf brandished his weapon and swung at Feng Wu's face. Feng Wu drew out the fallen star, sword on her back. It glinted like a streak of cold light, and the others thought they could hear a thunderclap. Nothing would be able to compete with the fallen star sword. Get out of my way. Feng Wu pointed the sword at the bandit. But the bandit only grinned eerily at Feng Wu and charged at her as if he didn't care about his life. If you won't, I'll wash my fallen star sword with the blood of you people. Thud. As soon as Feng Wu said those words, the blade slit the bandit's throat open. His head then rolled on the ground, and blood gushed from the headless neck. Feng Wu was already running up the slope. This mountain is known as Bloody Road. The evil voice rang out. You'll kill a person every 10 steps. Go on, young lady. You'll see me once you've killed enough. Feng Wu acted as though she hadn't heard that voice. Every few steps, another bandit would charge at her, showing no regard for their own life. It only took Feng Wu one swipe to cut each of their heads off. 10, 50, 100. In a matter of seconds, Feng Wu was halfway up the slope. The bandits came at her individually at first, but they started coming in twos and threes. Now, five-man teams were blocking her way. The sword had cut off countless heads already. If Feng Wu were to turn around, she would find the path covered with human heads in her wake. The gory scene gave one the creeps. Outside, oh God, holy crap. Feng Wu is so. How many has she killed now? Is she a god of slaughter? She didn't even blink when she did it, and she cut off every head with just one slash. That's so scary. If they had doubted Feng Wu's capability before, they didn't anymore. They were intimidated by her now. Blood-stained Feng Wu's white dress. The red color spread out, reminding one of flaming mandala flowers. Feng Wu was so terrifying. Everyone outside widened their eyes as they watched Feng Wu rush up the slope. She was really killing as she ran. Blood dripped from the tip of her sword. Feng Wu seemed to have transformed into the god of death. Gosh, is that Feng Wu's true capability? What a terrifying girl. She didn't even blink. No one will dare turn against her. Many Year 2 students had considered Feng Wu a weakling in the beginning, but after Feng Wu demonstrated her true power, they were terrified and panic-stricken. Rather than consider Feng Wu an equal, they were already looking up to her in admiration. Someone asked in a low voice, "Hey, what do you think Feng Wu would be on our billboard? 100th? Can she get that far?" The members of Tiger Head pricked up their ears. Someone else said, "Tao Hu, the leader of Tiger Head, is 100th on the billboard. Are you saying that Feng Wu is weaker than he is?" Tao Hu was speechless. Chapter 1367, 50th. Chapter 1367, 50th. Gu Honglang and the other members were furious. However, Tao Hu stopped them with a wave of his hand. That's true. From what Feng Wu has demonstrated so far, she's a lot better than Tao Hu. Tao Hu was speechless. He wanted to retort and argue, but when he looked at the girl who had almost reached the top of the mountain and the blood that was dripping from her sword, he couldn't think of anything to say. Deep down, he knew that if he was in Feng Wu's place, he wouldn't be able to make it to the second trial of the hell level, nor would he be able to kill so many people. Forget Tao Hu. If you ask me, Feng Wu can be ranked at least 80th. 80th? I'm sure she can do better than that. Better than that? Are you sure? Isn't Su Du 80th? Do you think he isn't as good as Feng Wu? He probably isn't. I met him the other day, and he told me he reached the 9th floor, but failed at the last moment. What? Su Du only made it to the 9th floor? But Feng Wu is on the 11th floor already. Yes, and that's why I'm sure that Feng Wu is far better than 80th. Oh God, that flustered a lot of the Year 2 students. They knew that Feng Wu was amazing, but they had no idea how mind-blowing she was. So, the capability she's demonstrated so far will put her. She's about 50th. The calm voice belonged to a girl. She looked a little emaciated and her lackluster hair was tied up in pigtails, but her eyes shone coldly as she spoke. Suhan. Suhan was only 14 years old and was the youngest student of Initial. However, if Feng Wu came to Year 2, the latter would become the youngest instead. I'm 50th, said Suhan, and I made it to the 11th floor 10 days ago. However, many eyes were on Suhan, but she kept her gaze on Feng Wu, who was covered in blood the entire time. However, taking a deep breath, Suhan said, I didn't pass the 11th floor, and 50th is as high as I've been able to get so far. That is to say, if Feng Wu gets through this trial, she'll be even higher than that. Someone cried out, but no one questioned the conclusion because everyone agreed. She's not an official Year 2 student yet, but she's already 50th on the billboard. What a genius girl. I'd also like to remind you all, this girl is skipping a grade to Year 2. In fact, it's only been a few months since she got into Imperial College. Everyone sucked in their breaths. She has achieved more in a few months than we have in over a decade. Exactly how did she do it? Suhan narrowed her eyes, and a jealous look flashed across her face. What she didn't tell them was that when she had been on the 11th floor, That evil voice had sounded even meaner, but the trial hadn't been as difficult. Right now, Fengwu was only about 100 meters away from the evil man in black. However, there were simply too many enemies blocking her way. All she could see were countless faces and her moving sword. Ha! Young lady, you only have a minute left. A white mask covered the man's face, and the smile in his eyes was malicious and creepy. Chapter 1368, 30th. Chapter 1368, 30th. He raised his right hand and put his long, fair fingers around the cub's thin neck. One squeeze, and the cub would be decapitated. The more people Fengwu killed, the more brightly the fallen star's sword glowed. Pop, pop. She had lost count of how many times she had been cut. All she could think of was moving forward. 100 meters, 80 meters, 50 meters. With each step she took, more blood was shed. Fengwu looked like she had just taken a bloodbath when she finally stood in front of the evil man. Even her eyes seemed to have turned red. She kept her steady gaze on his face. The incense stick that was used to keep time burned up at that moment. The look in a man's eyes had been indifferent, but he was visibly amazed by her. You shouldn't be capable enough to make it here, but you did. There was something dangerous in his sharp gaze. Fengwu only stared at him, because she was too tired to even lift a finger. Give me back my tiger cub. The cub was still sound asleep, and its plump belly rose and fell with its breaths. You're very lucky. Raise this little thing well. It'll become something great. The man then tossed the cub back to Fengwu. Who on earth are you? Holding the cub in her arms, Fengwu glared at this masked man in black. Kiddo, your top priority now is to figure out how to pass the next trial. The mysterious black-robed man rubbed her head. Fengwu wanted to evade his hand, but he was simply too powerful and she couldn't move. Seeing Fengwu tense up, the man seemed amused. Something resembling a smile appeared in those brooding eyes that had seen the vicissitudes of life on this continent. Why was he still laughing? She was worried sick here. Fengwu threw a dirty look at him, then turned to leave. Hey, wait. The man stopped Fengwu. Fengwu turned around and glowered at him. The fairy had just informed her that she only had 10 minutes left, and she still had 2 floors to go through. She didn't have time to waste. Nothing was more important than her beautiful master. Don't you want to take a seat and have a break? The black-robed man gestured at a spot, and a comfortable chair popped out of thin air, together with a small stove on which a pot of tea was brewing. Outside, everyone opened their eyes in astonishment. They didn't know that was even possible. Brother Gua, were you treated like this when you reached the 11th floor? Gua Kong was 30th on the billboard and had reached the 11th floor before. No. Gua Kong stared at Fengwu on the screen and shook his head affirmatively. I'm sure of it. Moreover, after a pause, Gua Kong went on. If I'm remembering correctly, this is the first time I've ever seen this black-robed masked man. What? Only a handful of initial students had ever made it to the hell level, and their movements had been observed the way Fengwu's were now. Therefore, most students didn't know what the hell level was like. How was that possible? Isn't that man with Fengwu now? All eyes were on Wukong. The students followed a strict hierarchy, and on any other day, no one would dare question Wukong. Given the current situation, however, everyone was so curious. Chapter 1369. Chapter 1369, 15th. Luckily, Wukong was one of the more friendly top students of Year 2, and he was more than happy to answer their questions. When I entered the hell level, there was only a voice which told me the rules in the beginning, but it never came back after that. Jiang Shurong, what about you? Jiang Shurong was 20th on the billboard. Instantly, all eyes were on him. Jiang Shurong had a very serious look on his face. He hesitated for a moment before saying, I've never met him before either, right? None of us has ever seen him. Wukong smacked his own thigh. Jiang Shurong is 20th, but he hasn't met the man either. However, not only had this man greeted Fengwu, he seemed to like her a lot. Wait, isn't Hua Pianran 10th? What was her experience like? Hua Pianran? She's not here. She said this challenge was too low level for her to watch. Gosh, get her here now. It's not low level anymore. Feng Wu has almost reached the top 20. Plus, judging by her performance, she may even climb further. She's not a year 2 student yet, but she's already so impressive. That's worth our attention. That's true. She's capable enough to be introduced to our top 10 students. I agree. I need to get Brother Long here. And Brother Shun too. Only a couple of the top 10 students were here at first, including Shu Yunruo. But with the turn of events, the students thought it was time to bring their leaders here. Back inside the Dragon's Gate, Feng Wu had put the tiger cub back in her chest pocket and was heading quickly for the 12th floor. Are you sure you don't want to take a break? The black-robed man called after her. Feng Wu didn't stop walking. You heartless girl. The man then raised a hand. Something flew out of his palm and shot toward Feng Wu. Is he going to kill Feng Wu? That was everyone's first reaction. Feng Sun, on the other hand, turned to look at Boss Jun. When this man started showing a partial attitude toward Feng Wu, Boss Jun's face turned so grim that it was darker than a stormy sky. Right now, the look in his brooding eyes was so cold that it sent a chill down Feng Sun's spine. However, the flash of light didn't fly as fast as the others expected, and Feng Wu caught it easily with one hand. It was a shiny little stone. Feng Wu looked confused and turned to look at the man. Covered from head to toe by his robe and the white mask, the man looked so mysterious. However, he seemed to be smiling, and his eyes shone mischievously. What's this? Feng Wu finally asked. The man chuckled. You'll need it. Now go. There was something affectionate in his eyes. Affection. Feng Wu was sure that she had seen wrong. How could this evil man have anything to do with her? She quickly got rid of the silly idea. You only have 5 minutes left. The fairy's trembling voice sounded flustered. Quickly, you're running out of time. Feng Wu gritted her teeth. I know. The further up she went, the harder the trials became, and the longer it would take to pass them. Chapter 1370, 10th. Chapter 1370, 10th. Feng Wu was covered with wounds and had lost a lot of blood. She had so little time to recover after the fight that her capability now was only at 20%. How was she supposed to pass the 12th floor in her current state? Feng Wu didn't know the answer herself. No one outside had any faith in her either. Feng Wu passed the 11th floor. That's the second trial for the Hell level. Each level consisted of 3 trials, and Feng Wu still had 1 trial left at this level. She's about to enter the hardest trial for the Hell level. Can she do it? The 12th trial is the hardest trial at this level. If she really can pass, I think my jaw will fall off. I'm sure she'll be able to do it someday, but she's bound to fail today, said Chang Xuequan, who was 9th on the billboard. Why? The others asked in unison. Are you blind? Chang Xuequan rolled his eyes at the others and pointed at Feng Wu. Look, she's covered in her and her enemy's blood. Hua Pian Ran, who was 10th, nodded as well. Feng Wu really is a genius, but she's badly injured and has lost a lot of blood. She's drained of both physical strength and spiritual essence. She can exert 20% of her full power at most. Chang Xuequan nodded. I don't doubt her capability, but today, there's no way she's going to pass the 12th floor. Nonsense. I'm sure Xiao Wu can make it. Chaoga had to be the most blind of Feng Wu's supporters. Right now, she glared at Chang Xuequan and looked like she wanted to hit him. She alone didn't intimidate Chang Xuequan, but young Lord Feng was behind her. Chang Xuequan could only rub his chin with a wry smile and say, I'm only speculating based on my understanding. Young Lord Feng, what do you think? As a matter of fact, Feng Sun didn't have much hope in Feng Wu either. He had been a year 2 student once, and he knew that Feng Wu had to be as capable as a top 10 student in order to pass the Hell level. However, she was only a level 9 spiritual elder at the moment, which wasn't enough. I think she'll make it. Feng Sun raised an eyebrow and glanced at Chang Xuequan. Suit yourself. The other year 2 students smiled wryly. He could dote on her and have blind faith in her all he wanted, Soon enough, reality would teach him a lesson. The other students actually looked forward to seeing the young lord getting his face slapped. I didn't know you trusted Xiao Wu so much as well. Good for you. Chaoga nudged Feng Sun's arm with her elbow. Feng Sun only smiled in resignation and touched his face involuntarily. Xiao Wu, you better succeed. Otherwise, your brother is going to get his face slapped. At the same moment, Feng Wu. She knew better than anyone else about her own condition. She had sustained both external and internal injuries. She thought about her beautiful master. What if I fail? No, I won't let that happen. Involuntarily, she gripped the small stone in her hand. All of a sudden, a cooling sensation ran from the stone to her palm and quickly flowed throughout her entire body. Chapter 1371, The Legendary Miracle Stone. Chapter 1371, The Legendary Miracle Stone. The sensation was so comfortable that Feng Wu instantly felt recharged. She looked down involuntarily. She could clearly sense her injured internal organs being repaired at an incredible speed. Her body felt like dry land being nourished by a good rain after a long drought, and she was soon full of energy again. Her external wounds also began to heal as she watched. It only took a few seconds for scabs to form and fall out. Wait, no man-made medicine could have such a miraculous effect. Crack! Feng Wu realized that the stone in her hand had turned into powder after it ran out of essence. That was it. It was the stone that had enabled her to heal instantly. She recalled what the black-robed man said earlier. He told her that she wouldn't be able to resist it, and he was right. Why are you helping me? Standing at the entrance to the 12th floor, Feng Wu looked up and asked the question. However, that man didn't appear again, and she didn't get a response. Feng Wu was perplexed and was lost in thought for a moment. Who was that evil man, and what did he do? She wondered if they had met before. Otherwise, why would he help her? However, the man didn't come back, and Feng Wu didn't have time to waste. The door to the 12th floor was finally pushed open. Rumble. The moment the door opened, Feng Wu felt hot air on her face, and the impact made her narrow her eyes. She could hear the rumble of hooves over the ground. It was a battlefield, and a bloody battle was taking place. Everywhere Feng Wu turned, she only saw soldiers. Some were on horseback, and further back, she could see row upon row of infantrymen whose black armor glinted in the sun. Killing intent filled the air. There was blood everywhere. It was a world of slaughter. Everyone outside was astonished by this scene. Oh God, is that the legendary last trial for the Hell level, the bloody battlefield? How many people are there? Whoa, is it a simulation of the real battlefield in the Empire's northern territory? That's so scary. So, Feng Wu has to go through that battlefield. Chang Shuigan, rank 9, said, yes, she has to break through the cavalry and infantry and cut off the head of their general. That's impossible. There has to be at least 10,000 people there. Wrong. It's 30,000. Feng Wu is never going to be able to do that. She's still injured. She can only exert 20% of her power right now, right? Forget 20%. She wouldn't be able to pass the trial even if in peak condition. Only less than 10 people in initial can do it. Look, Feng Wu is charging at them. Wait, that doesn't seem right. Look at her speed and her movements. She's in peak condition now. Has Feng Wu recovered already? She can't have. Wasn't she badly injured in the last trial? Why doesn't she seem affected at all? Hey, do you remember the stone that man gave her? Could it be the legendary Miracle Stone? What's that? It said that no matter how damaged your body is, a single Miracle Stone can cure everything and bring you back to your peak condition. Chapter 1372. Chapter 1372, Top 10. Miracle Stones are legendary treasures that can't be measured with money. I think His Majesty is the only one prestigious enough to have seen them before. Who is that man, and why did he give Feng Wu such a valuable gift? Why does he favor Feng Wu out of all people? Everyone turned to Chief Chiao for answers. Chief Chiao was filled with bitter resentment. He had almost passed out from the humiliation Feng Wu had dealt him, but now, that was indeed a miracle stone. He had no choice but to nod. Hua Pianran immediately asked, "Sir, who is that man? He never made an appearance when I took the challenge." Chang Shuikun added, "Not only that, he sounded much meaner and didn't talk as much. He was so much kinder to her." Bu Jingyu, ranked 8th, nodded as well. "That's right. We've all reached the hell level, but none of us have ever seen him, let alone receive a miracle stone as a gift." All of them then turned to Chief Chiao in unison and asked, "Who is that master?" Chief Chiao rubbed his forehead and wondered the same thing. That man had casually given away a miracle stone, which was a treasure that every cultivator on the continent would fight head over heels for. Who was he? And why was he confined inside the Dragon's Gate? Feng Wu had no idea of how specially she had been treated. Right now, her eyes were narrowed murderously as she stared at the crowd. 4 minutes, the fairy reminded Feng Wu. Feng Wu nodded solemnly. There was no time for her to hesitate. She had to make her way to the other end of the troops and cut their general's head off. "There are over 30,000 soldiers," said the fairy, "and each one is at least a spiritual master who has reached perfection in their cultivation level. And together with their horses, the cavalrymen are equivalent to junior spiritual grandmasters." Feng Wu was only a top-level spiritual grandmaster herself. The look on her face was very solemn when she nodded, and no one could tell what she was thinking when she stared at the soldiers. 3,000 cavalrymen charged at Feng Wu first. The horses galloped. The ground shook. The horses' neighs filled the air. And it was ear-splitting. Smoke billowed, and there was dust everywhere. "Shit, that's so terrifying. That's an army. How is Feng Wu supposed to fight them all by herself? I can't watch. She'll be turned into a pulp after the horses run her down." The others couldn't bring themselves to watch what was going to happen. They had no doubt that Feng Wu was going to lose. "I failed at this level too." Hua Pianran smiled bitterly at Chang Shuekuen. "I couldn't take it anymore after I killed 100 cavalrymen, so I pressed the panic button and the system sent me out." Chang Shuekuen rubbed his nose. "I'm 1 spot higher than you on the billboard. Guess how many I killed?" Hua Pianran asked how many. Chang Shuekuen said, 200 cavalrymen. The two of them exchanged more bitter smiles. Even capable individuals like them, who had been training arduously in initial, could only kill 100 or 200 cavalrymen. Feng was only a new student. She was dreaming if she thought she could pass so easily. How naive. Chapter 1373. Chapter 1373. 8th. Chang Shuekuen's eyes flickered. "How many do you think Feng Wu can kill this time?" Hua Pianran said 10. Chang Shuekuen said, "No, you're giving her too much credit. I say she can take down 1 or 2 at most." However, Chang Shuekuen had barely said those words when Feng Wu raised her sword and struck at the cavalrymen around her. The fallen star sword was simply too sharp. One sweep was enough to bring a man down from his horse, and he was decapitated in the process. 1. Hua Pianran glanced at Chang Shuekuen. "I think she can kill 20 more." Chang Shuekuen said, "We'll see." Feng Wu's entire attention was focused on the battlefield. She jumped onto a horse and swung her sword through the air. Thump! The men around her lost their heads all at once. That one move killed 10 people. That makes 11. Hua Pianran looked at Chang Shuekuen. Chang Shuekuen was amazed as well. How did she do that? It's not possible. Her sword simply moved too fast. It was as if the heads had been cut off by a flash of light. Feng Wu is more capable than we expected. Hua Pianran sighed and said, "Judging by her performance so far, she'll surpass both of us." "That's not going to happen." Chang Shuekuen shook his head. "She's not rising above us on the billboard." Hua Pianran was 10th, and Chang Shuekuen was 9th. If Feng Wu surpassed them, she would become a top 10 student. How incredible! Meanwhile, countless cavalrymen had surrounded Feng Wu, but there was limited room, and only a certain number of men could fit into the circle. And Feng Wu was as amazing as ever. The first stance of Fallen Star swordplay, Sword of the Otherworld. When she activated the stance, blades rained down to decapitate all the cavalrymen around her. But more moved in to fill the gaps. The second stance of Fallen Star swordplay, Dancing Dragon in the Moonlight. The sword leapt into the air and flew around like a giant dragon, instantly devouring hundreds of soldiers. The third stance of Fallen Star swordplay, Fatal Thunder. The third stance was a sound wave. The shock wave centered around the sword spread out in all directions. It looked like a spider web. Thud, thud, thud. The horses closest to Feng Wu acted like they had gone crazy. They reared up and neighed. They then threw the men off their backs and started running. The horses run wildly, breaking the formation. How's that possible? How? Chang Xuequan and Hua Pianran exchanged frightened looks. She's killed a few hundred men at least. Hua Pianran's voice shook. She killed all those people in one go. Chang Xuequan said, I thought she couldn't kill more than 10, but now. They had looked down on Feng Wu and thought her as someone inferior to them. They had been so sure that their positions wouldn't be affected. But now, it only took Feng Wu 3 stances to kill a few hundred people. That meant Feng Wu had already surpassed them. Who are they to comment on Feng Wu now? If she kills 500 more, she'll rank higher than me, someone said indifferently. Chapter 1374, Untitled. Chapter 1374, Untitled. Song Yichen, Chang Xuequan, and Hua Pianran cried out in surprise when they saw the tall, slender man next to them. Here in Imperial College, all top 10 students received favorable treatment. Song Yichen, for instance, had only just arrived, but because he was 7th on the billboard, he could stand in the front row. By now, most of the top 10 students were in the front row. Song Yichen, you're here. Hua Pianran gave him a wry smile. I take it that you killed over 700 cavalrymen when you were in there. Song Yichen stared at Feng Wu with his cold, unblinking eyes and nodded slightly. 750. So, if Feng Wu could kill more than 750 men, she would replace Song Yichen and become 7th on the billboard. Pop, pop. Feng Wu was using those 3 stances repeatedly. Countless men charged at her, only to be decapitated by her Fallen Star sword. 100, 200, 300. Blood flowed in streams as heads piled up on the ground. Ordinary blades would have turned blunt by now, but Fallen Star sword was anything but ordinary. It went on slashing at the soldiers. How many? How many has she killed? Chang Xuequan anxiously clenched his fists. Over 800, I think. Nah, she's killed well over 1,000. She's killed more than that. I've been counting. It's 1,500 now. What? Chang Xuequan turned to look at Bu Jingyu. As expected, Bu Jingyu looked very displeased. Hi's face was so dark that one could practically use it as ink. 1,600, 1,700, 2,000. Feng Wu has killed 2,000 people already. How can you keep up with the number? Look at the top right corner of the screen. The number is right there. Someone was kind enough to remind the others. Whoosh! All eyes turned in that direction. Indeed, the number was shown in a scarlet-red color, and it kept changing. That was so terrifying. Feng Wu has killed 2,000 soldiers already. Look, she's gone through the cavalry and is charging at the infantry now. The infantry is on guard. Quickly, get her. Outside, everyone was watching this thrilling, dangerous, but unique battle. 3,000. Feng Wu has killed 3,000 people now. That surpassed Bu Jingyu's achievement. Bu Jingyu is 8th on the billboard. That's to say, if Feng Wu was on our billboard now, she would be as high up as 8th place? That's insane. She's not even a year 2 student yet, but she's already 8th? Even Feng Sun's eyes widened, to say nothing of the other students. Since when is the girl so capable? I can't believe this. Wait, have you forgotten? Feng Wu used the miracle stone to recover, said Hua Ran with a frown as she stared at Fengwu on the screen. That's right. Fengwu used a miracle stone, but we didn't. Chang Shuequan finally found an excuse to convince himself. If we had the miracle stone, we would do just as well. Another indifferent voice rang out next to them. Are you sure you can do as well as she's doing if you had the miracle stone? Who was that? Chapter 1375, Untitled. Chapter 1375, Untitled. Who was that? Immediately, everyone turned their heads. Xu Yunruo? Someone cried out in surprise. Yes, it was Xu Yunruo, and his gaze had been fixed on Fengwu this entire time. Xu Yunruo was ranked 5th in Year 2 after the last exam, and even he had faith in Fengwu. Xu Yunruo, how far do you think Fengwu can go? Hua Ran asked tentatively. Xu Yunruo only shook his head and said, her capability is without limit. Limitless. So, Hua Ran asked in a low voice, do you think Fengwu will do better than you? Instantly, all eyes were on Xu Yunruo. Fengwu was equivalent to the 8th now, and if she went on like this, she might surpass Xu Yunruo as well. Xu Yunruo looked at Hua Ran and gave her an enigmatic smile. Hua Ran looked confused. She wondered if Xu Yunruo thought it was possible that Fengwu would surpass him. After some thought, Hua Ran asked, how many did you kill last time when you were on this floor? Immediately, all eyes were on Xu Yunruo again. Xu Yunruo smiled a little. Well, I passed this trial. He passed. That was to say, Xu Yunruo had killed all the soldiers, all 30,000 of them. Wow, I always knew that Boss Xu is incredible, but I didn't know he was so capable. So, there's no way that Fengwu will make it into the top 5 this time. Of course she won't. She can't possibly pass the last trial of the Hell level. At the same time, Song Yichen, who was 7th, exchanged looks with Ning Yao, who was 6th. Was Fengwu going to fail the last trial of the Hell level? Other people might be reassured by the idea, but not these two people. Meanwhile, Fengwu was striking with her fallen star sword over and over again. Blood splashed everywhere, and dead bodies covered the ground. It was hard to imagine how many people she had killed. Blood flowed like a river over the ground, with dead bodies floating in it. The scene gave the audience the creeps and sent chills down their spines. The fallen star sword was indeed a formidable weapon. After all the people it had cut down, the blade didn't turn blunt at all. Instead, it glinted and seemed to have turned even sharper. 3,000, 5,000, 10,000. Holy crap, Fengwu has killed 15,000 people already. That's insane. Isn't she tired? She's already in a frenzied state. All she knows is killing. No one will be able to wake her up unless she does it herself. 17,000, 20,000, 25,000. Wow, Fengwu has really gone mad. They were right to assume that. From their angle, all they could see was Fengwu covered in blood from head to toe. However, the fallen star sword in her hand looked very strange. No matter how many people it cut down, the blade remained spotless because it was absorbing all the blood. The sword fed on blood. Ding! The blade of the fallen star sword suddenly sparked, like a star coming to life. But the flash disappeared just as quickly, and Fengwu was the only one who knew its secret. Chapter 1376, Untitled. Chapter 1376, Untitled. Fengwu glanced at the fallen star sword and could sense that the blade had become even sharper. Right now, she was so immersed in killing that her soul was trembling. 27,000, 28,000, 29,000. Oh God, how's that possible? How can Fengwu? That's so scary. Fengwu is so. 29,100, 29,200, 29,300. She's getting closer to the central tent. She's about to catch the leader and kill him. Wow. Outside, many people's eyes were wide open and everyone was astonished. Qiao, he clenched her fists. Was watching you open her eyes wide. Chief Qiao's eyes flickered. And many others were greatly shaken, because what they were witnessing had completely changed their opinion of Feng Wu, and they were seeing her in a new light now. What she had done was simply so frightening. Song Yichen, who was seventh, clenched his fists. He wondered if Feng Wu was going to surpass him. Did he have to give his seventh place to a girl who hadn't even gotten into year 2 yet? Just then, Bu Jingyu, who had been standing next to Song Yichen, turned to look at him. "How many did you kill?" asked Bu Jingyu. Bu Jingyu was 8th on the billboard and had always been the aloof type. He had always kept his distance from Song Yichen. Normally, Bu Jingyu would raise his chin when the two of them met and couldn't be bothered to glance at Song Yichen. However, he was simply too curious now. Clenching his right hand into a fist, Song Yichen raised it to his mouth and spoke after a long pause. "I killed all the soldiers." Bu Jingyu's pupils contracted, and he stared at Song Yichen. He had always thought that he wasn't very far behind Song Yichen. As it turned out, while he had only killed a few thousand, Song Yichen had killed them all. "But you didn't pass this floor," said Bu Jingyu. Song Yichen nodded. "No, I didn't." Bu Jingyu raised an eyebrow. "Why?" Song Yichen smiled bitterly. "Because..." Before he could say anything else, Feng Wu had killed all the soldiers. However, she stopped outside the tent. The other tents had all been destroyed by fire, but this one in the center of the battlefield remained standing like a lone island. "You're running out of time." The fairy jumped around in Feng Wu's ring space. However, Feng Wu was in an indescribable state at the moment. She had stopped sensing the outside world. Killing intent consumed her mind, and all she wanted to do was fight. The fallen star sword glowed red and gave off a bloody scent. The sword spirit was shaking so violently that Feng Wu almost lost control of the sword. That was the fallen star sword's reaction to a serious threat. Feng Wu won. She killed all the soldiers. I can't believe she got so far. She passed the hell level. So our bets. We all lost, and the house is going to take it all. Outside, many crestfallen people dropped their heads and sulked. They had been so sure that they were going to win and had considered it a great opportunity to win more points. They had bet so heavily on it. Chapter 1377. Chapter 1377, Untitled. Many people had bet all the points they had. However, they had lost. All of them. Without exception. Oh God. Right away, several people passed out. However, at that moment, "Calm down." Song Yichen smiled a little. "The hell level isn't that easy." Instantly, all eyes were on him. "What do you mean?" they all asked. Song Yichen smiled. "The most difficult part about the hell level isn't killing all 30,000 soldiers, but what?" asked the others in unison. "But what exactly?" Couldn't the man finish his sentence? They wanted to hear the answer. However, Song Yichen didn't have to explain to them anymore, because the answer had just come out himself. "God, what's that rumble? It's so loud. It's coming from the tent. It's coming out." Rumble. The steadfast tent suddenly collapsed and quickly disintegrated, and a man walked out of the flames. His eyes seemed to spit fire and thirst for blood. He was tall and stalwart and had a war hammer in his hands. It was enormous and gave off an unbelievable amount of energy. Oh God, that's General Zhongliang. It's a simulation of the Battle of Donghua Valley. General Zhongliang died in that battle, didn't he? I heard that General Zhongliang was born with incredible strength, and he was one of Northern Feng General's most capable warriors. I didn't see that coming. A simulation of General Zhongliang. What else can we say? Feng Wu is definitely going to lose. Hearing that, many people clenched their fists in excitement. Xiao Yi was so thrilled that tears welled up in her eyes. She had almost collapsed as she watched Feng Wu pass the trials, and she was happy to hear that Feng Wu was finally going to lose. You never know. Xiao Ge snorted. General Zhongliang may be very capable, but look at all those arrows in him. Are you sure he's going to win? Immediately, all eyes were on the general. Xiao Ge was right. As he walked closer, they all saw that over a dozen arrows were stuck in his chest, almost piercing through him. Staring at Feng Wu with his cold eyes, he seemed eager for a fight. "Little girl, you're going to die." His eyes were filled with murderous intent. His war hammer then swung down at Feng Wu like a falling mountain. The energy from the hammer was so formidable that it scattered the clouds overhead. Those on the other side of the screen could almost feel the wind on their faces. How terrifying! Uncle Zhongliang, Feng Sun bolted up from his chair. His pupils contracted, and he clenched his fists. Uncle Zhongliang is a spiritual lord. Those words sounded like a thunderclap in everyone's ears. Rumble, a spiritual lord. Based on their capabilities, cultivators were categorized into spiritual masters, spiritual grandmasters, spiritual elders, spiritual lords, and so on and so forth. Feng Wu had reached perfection in the spiritual grandmaster stage, but she wasn't even a spiritual elder yet. Now, she had to fight a spiritual lord. Even if General Zhongliang's badly injured, he's still a spiritual lord. Chapter 1378, Admiration. Chapter 1378, Admiration. A spiritual lord. Everyone was shocked by those words. Feng Wu was only a top-level spiritual grandmaster at the moment. How was she supposed to fight a spiritual lord? They were an entire cultivation stage apart. General Zhongliang may have been severely injured by those arrows, but Feng Wu still won't be able to beat him. Oh no, Feng Wu is really doomed this time. It's already very amazing that she could get this far. That's right, even if she fails now, she's already surpassed Bu Jingyu, which will make her 8th on the billboard. That's just so scary. She should give up now. After all, she'll have plenty of chances to take the challenge in the future. Everyone thought Feng Wu was going to give up, but she didn't, because she didn't have the luxury of another chance. This was a one-time-only thing for her. Moreover, she only had 3 minutes left. Rumble. The war hammer smashed down at Feng Wu's head. It created a gust of wind, and murderous energy filled the air. The wind was so strong it resembled a tidal wave. The entire floor seemed to go wild with it. The shock wave created by the war hammer spread out at an unbelievable speed, and the intimidating power swept through the air. Sensing the danger, Feng Wu turned to run. However, even with Phoenix Dance, and even when she exerted all her strength, Rumble, the murderous energy gathered around the war hammer had formed an air vortex, and Feng Wu felt like a drunkard. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't get far away enough from the general. Thump! The war hammer struck down. The shock wave smashed into Feng Wu's back. Wretch! Feng Wu flew out like a kite with a cut string. Blood was already oozing out of her mouth when she was in the air. She spat out mouthfuls of blood when she hit the ground. Wretch! Wretch! Feng Wu spat out so much blood that the ground was painted red. One strike. It only took the severely injured General Zhongliang one strike to give Feng Wu that fatal injury. That's so scary. I thought that given the general's injury, Feng Wu would have some chance at least, but she couldn't even withstand one strike. I told you, there's an entire stage difference between the two of them. Feng Wu is so dead. I didn't know that a spiritual grandmaster was so much weaker than a spiritual lord. But Feng Wu really is an unparalleled genius. Unfortunately for her, she restarted her cultivation too late. That's right. If she hadn't lost her capability back then, with her great talent, she would probably have become a spiritual lord by now. Wasn't Zhuqing Wan as famous as Feng Wu back then? How's she doing now? Zhuqing Wan, as in Zhuo Qingyu's older sister. Zhuo Qingyu was thrilled to see how badly injured Feng Wu was, and she smiled when she heard the question. My sister is already a level 8 spiritual elder. Wow, she's so close to becoming a spiritual lord. In other words, if Feng Wu were to fight Zhuqing Wan now, she would be crippled after a single strike. Zhuqing Wan is so amazing. Immediately, a lot of people sighed in admiration. Zhuqing Wan was around their age, but she was so far ahead of them that she seemed out of reach. Chapter 1379, Level 1 Spiritual Elder. Chapter 1379, Level 1 Spiritual Elder. Feng Sun frowned when he heard that. Zhuo Qingwan was almost a spiritual lord now. That was unbelievably fast. Back in the Dragon's Gate, Feng Wu had finally managed to stop vomiting blood. She raised her head to speak, but the war hammer was coming at her again. All the energy seemed to have gathered around the war hammer, and it resembled a giant dragon. Oh no! Feng Wu frowned and her heart raced. There was no way she could withstand another strike. She knew that General Zhongliang didn't have much energy left, and he could only perform 3 more strikes at most. Therefore, she had to stall for time. But how? What could she use to protect herself from the formidable warhammer? Suddenly, Feng Wu's eyes flickered. Yes, she had been suppressing her spiritual essence and stopping herself from making a breakthrough. But now, it was time. When the warhammer struck down again, Feng Wu made her move. Her dantian was wide open like a dam releasing a flood. An endless spiritual essence poured out, filling Feng Wu's energy channels. The moment the giant warhammer swung down. Crack! Lightning tore the sky open. Rumble! It struck down at Feng Wu's head. The formidable warhammer and the lightning tangled with each other in the air. Beneath them, Feng Wu was untouched. OMG! What's going on here? What happened? The flash of lightning illuminated everyone's faces through the screen and covered them in white light. Everyone exchanged bewildered looks. In fact, they already had a guess, but they just didn't want to admit it. Finally, Feng Sun heaved a sigh and said, "Little Feng Wu is making a breakthrough, isn't she?" He was talking to Jun Linyuan. The crown prince stood there with his hands behind his back, his long sleeves touching the ground. Yes, he nodded. Everyone was speechless. Young Lord Feng and the crown prince had just said it out loud. Hence, the crowd couldn't deny it anymore. The lightning which struck down at Feng Wu during her breakthrough had hit General Zhongliang's warhammer instead. As they clashed with each other, Feng Wu became the happy onlooker. But at Feng Wu's current level, why would nature give her a lightning tribulation? More importantly, how did she time it so well? No one can make a breakthrough just because they want to. Is it possible that she's been keeping herself from making a breakthrough all along? Feng Wu didn't know about all the questions they had, but even if she did, she wouldn't have had the time to answer. That was because she was too busy making her breakthrough. She had suppressed her spiritual essence for so long this time that once she unleashed it, it flooded into every part of her body, the impact almost paralyzing her. The excruciating pain in her internal organs nearly knocked her out. Sweat rolled down her cheeks and soaked her back. Her face drained of all color, and she shook uncontrollably. She bit her lower lip so hard that blood trickled down from the corner of her mouth. But that was the only way that she could remain conscious. Moreover, she knew better than anyone else that this was only the beginning. Whoosh! Feng Wu finally made it. She was a spiritual elder now. Chapter 1380. Has Feng Wu lost? Chapter 1380. Has Feng Wu lost? Wow. Guys, look. Feng Wu has made a breakthrough against all odds. She was only a spiritual grandmaster before, but now she's a spiritual elder. She's only a level 1 spiritual elder, so stop yelling. There are more students at her level in year 2 than we can count. But she made it to 7th place on the billboard before her breakthrough. Now that she's a spiritual elder, how far will she go? Look, Feng Wu still looks quite weak, but General Zhongliang still has some strength left. Do you think her breakthrough can change the outcome? Immediately, many people shook their heads. That wasn't going to happen. 1 level higher might be a significant difference to students like them, but to a spiritual lord, it was negligible. It won't change anything. She's still going to lose. Many people nodded. Xiao Yi clenched her fists and bit her lower lip so hard that it bled. Damn it. Was Feng Wu even human? Why wouldn't she die? Why hadn't she failed? She wasn't the only one who felt that way. Zhuo Qingyu glared at Feng Wu with a hateful look in her eyes. She had turned things around again. No wonder she was the most famous, genius teenage girl in the Imperial capital back then. It had been less than a year since Feng Wu revealed her true capability, but she had already become a spiritual elder. The speed of her progress was simply terrifying. However, Zhuo Qingyu smirked. So what if Feng Wu had become a spiritual elder? She still wasn't General Zhongliang's match. That lightning tribulation could only protect her once. She was right. The lightning tribulation gradually faded, and everyone could see the ferocious look on General Zhongliang's face. Dying. The general gave Feng Wu no time to take a break. He raised his war hammer again. An intimidating energy spread out from him. The war hammer glinted. Look, General Zhongliang is going to make another move. This strike is even more frightening than before. Without the lightning tribulation, Feng Wu is definitely going to die this time. She shouldn't have entered the hell level if she isn't capable enough. She survived the last strike by sheer luck. She can't do it again. Everyone started talking at the same time, and they all watched with eyes wide with great excitement. They were sure that Feng Wu was really going to lose this time. Not just Xiao Yi and Zhuo Qingyu, but even Feng Sun thought the same way. Clenching his fists and biting his lower lip, he heaved a sigh. How could I have known that Uncle Zhongliang had been added to this level? Well, I guess I've lost the bet. No, Xiao Wu isn't going to lose. Chaoga still trusted her Xiao Wu unconditionally. Feng Sun patted Chaoga on the shoulder and said grumpily, There, it happens. No one can keep winning. Now, go sort out the points and give everyone what we owe them. Feng Sun didn't try to lower his voice, so everyone around him heard those words. Immediately, everyone cheered loudly. Young Lord Feng, haha, you finally lost for a change. Chapter 1381, Untitled. Chapter 1381, Untitled. Young Lord Feng is willing to admit his defeat. What an honorable thing to do. Guys, come and get paid. Immediately, the students felt as though their birthdays had arrived early, and they all rushed toward Chaoga in excitement. Feng Sun was nervously watching Feng Wu and waiting for her to give up. However, when he looked at the crown prince, what he saw baffled him. She hasn't lost. The light in the crown prince's eyes reminded Feng Sun of twinkling stars. What? Feng Sun didn't believe him. He was convinced that Feng Wu was cornered and her only option was to admit defeat. However, rumble. The sound of rumbling continued above Feng Wu's head, and everyone looked in that direction. Spiritual essence streaked down toward Feng Wu. That sounds so familiar. Isn't that the sound of thunder? The lightning tribulation earlier was brought down by Feng Wu's breakthrough. So what do we have here? Holy crap. Look, the lightning has come back. What does that mean? Instantly, all eyes were on Feng Wu. They saw General Zhongliang's war hammer smash into a streak of lightning again. Sparks flew everywhere, and the flash was blinding. The sounds of clashing metal and thunderclaps filled the air. That was incredible. If I'm guessing correctly, this is... Look at Feng Wu. She's making another breakthrough. Oh God, not again. Is she even human? How can she? Just as everyone expected, Feng Wu had sat down with her legs crossed and her eyes closed. The look on her face had never been so serious. Her body was enveloped in a translucent white glow, and she looked more resplendent than the stars overhead. She's a level 2 spiritual elder now. Zhuo Qingyu clenched her fists and gritted her teeth. She had mocked Feng Wu for being a mere spiritual grandmaster just minutes ago, but now Feng Wu was already a level 2 spiritual elder. She couldn't possibly be human. She has to die. Zhuo Qingyu had never felt so threatened, and she wasn't the only one who felt that way. Xiao Yi was visibly jealous, and the other Year 2 students all watched with their mouths agape. She made another breakthrough. She made 2 breakthroughs in a row. It's been years since I last saw that happen. We all thought she was doomed, but we were wrong again, and she made another breakthrough. Is her purpose in life to slap our faces? Fine, I admit that she's incredibly talented, but even if the lightning tribulation helped her twice, what about this time? General Zhongliang isn't done yet. Song Yichen, who was 7th, narrowed his eyes. Feng Wu had just surpassed Bu Jingyu, who was 8th, and was threatening Song Yichen's position now. He prayed inwardly for Feng Wu to fail. That was because, if Feng Wu failed to make it to the insane level as stated in the terms of the bet, she wouldn't be able to get into year 2. That way, he would be able to keep his position as 7th on the billboard. Here in Initial, students received resources which corresponded to their ranks, and there was a huge difference between 7th and 8th place. He was right. Chapter 1382, The Last Minute. Chapter 1382, The Last Minute. Song Yichen's comment calmed the excited crowd down. He was right. Although Feng Wu had done an impressive thing by making 2 breakthroughs in a row, General Zhongliang still had some strength left. How was she going to ward off the next attack? Unless she can make yet another breakthrough and have the lightning tribulation fend it off for her, someone said in a low voice. Ha ha! Many people burst out laughing. Now that's just preposterous. You must be dreaming. She's already leveled up twice in a row. Another one? You're out of your mind. That's never going to happen. However, when everyone was still yelling about how impossible it was, something happened, and everyone was shocked. Because just as General Zhongliang made the 3rd strike, thunder rumbled overhead again. OMG! 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 They were very familiar with that sound by now, because they had heard it twice already. This was the 3rd time. That was to say, Feng Wu is... Please don't tell me she's going to make another breakthrough. Holy crap. How is that even possible? That's 3 times in a row? OMG. Everyone's mouths fell open when they saw what was going on, and they were at a loss over what to say. They couldn't believe this. That was beyond imagination. In the Dragon's Gate, General Zhongliang's final strike was parried by the lightning. In the end, he fell down backward on the ground, and the thunder died out as well. Feng Wu was wrapped in a cocoon of spiritual essence. Once the lightning disappeared, the misty spiritual essence dissipated as well to reveal her stunning face. However, her eyes remained shut, as if she was lost in another world. The fairy was so anxious that she was almost in tears. She jumped around, trying to wake Feng Wu up by making some noise. You're running out of time. Time's almost up. Feng Wu, wake up. Wake up. You only have 1 minute left. Get up. You need to get to the insane level. Have you forgotten? All the hardships you've gone through will go to waste if you don't get up now. Feng Wu, wake up. The fairy was worried sick. She banged her head against the wall, yelled at the top of her lungs, and tried everything else she could think of. However, Feng Wu still sat there with her eyes closed. Your 4th trial, do you still remember it? You have to get into year 2, become a top 10 student, and impress Junlin Yuan so that he'll happily call you his little fool. Feng Wu, wake up. The fairy yelled so loudly that her throat was raw. Feng Wu had a pounding headache, as if someone had punched her in the head, and her ears hurt so much that she thought her eardrums had been torn apart by the lightning. She opened her eyes involuntarily. Before she was fully awake, the fairy started talking very fast in her head. Master, you're finally awake. Hurry up, you only have 40 seconds left, oh my god. The fairy talked so fast that she was almost incoherent. Chapter 1383, At the Critical Moment. Chapter 1383, At the Critical Moment. Feng Wu's eyes snapped open. Arp. She felt like screaming. There hadn't been much time left to begin with, and she had just wasted a lot of it. Without thinking, Feng Wu bolted up. Ouch! The 3 breakthroughs hadn't repaired her internal injuries. On the contrary, the intense energy flow only aggravated them. Blood rushed up her throat when she got to her feet and almost gushed out of her mouth. She fought the blood back down and dashed off. The insane level started on the 13th floor. Outside, Many people were looking at Feng Wu, full of despair. Feng Wu is going to the 13th floor. She did it. Song Yi-Chin didn't pass the hell level, and he's 7th. That means that Feng Wu would be 7th if she was on the billboard now. She's going to challenge the insane level now. How far can she go? Outside, many students have been intimidated by Feng Wu's efficient kills and successive breakthroughs. They had considered Feng Wu an inferior newbie at first, but now their opinion had changed. Feng Wu had just become a rising new talent. If Feng Wu was only slightly better than they were in talent and capability, they would feel jealous and try to slander her. But Feng Wu had demonstrated that she was more talented and capable than the rest of them could ever hope to be. Therefore, the Year 2 students envied and venerated Feng Wu now and wanted to befriend her. However, immediately after they changed their opinion of Feng Wu and wondered how much further she could go. As soon as Feng Wu stepped onto the 13th floor, she disappeared from the spot. Why did she disappear? She didn't even try the 13th trial. Where's Feng Wu? Why did she disappear? Is that some special setting of the 13th floor? The others were still discussing among themselves when Feng Wu showed up in front of them outside the Dragon's Gate. Her white dress was painted red, and her face and body were splattered with blood. Why is she out? Shouldn't she be on the 13th floor? She just made 3 breakthroughs in a row, so she should be able to take the 13th trial, right? Why did she suddenly come back out? To Feng Wu, there was no point in taking the challenge, because she only had to win the bet against Chief Chiao. Moreover, she only had less than a minute left, and every second counted. The others saw that Feng Wu's eyes were wide open, and the look on her face seemed rather anxious. Anxious? The others were all baffled. That didn't seem right. This was supposed to be a moment of glory for Feng Wu, so why was she feeling anxious? Feng Wu ignored the rest of the crowd and rushed toward Chief Chiao. The blood on her clothes splattered on Chief Chiao's face. Chief Chiao looked dumbfounded for a moment. How dare she? How dare she show up in front of him? All he could think of was how Feng Wu had beaten up his replica earlier. Chapter 1384. The most important 3 words. Chapter 1384. The most important 3 words. Moreover, everyone had seen it. However, Feng Wu didn't seem to regret what she had done. She didn't even bat an eyelash. Chief Chiao, I've passed the Year 2 entrance exam, right? Feng Wu spoke very fast in a cold voice. Everyone was watching, so what choice did Chief Chiao have? Could he avenge a personal wrong in the name of public interest, or deliberately create difficulties for Feng Wu? After seeing her amazing performance, Chief Chiao didn't have any excuses now. Rubbing his chin, he hesitated. Feng Wu felt anxious. She didn't have time to waste. There were only less than 30 seconds left. She still had to make him say those words, and she still couldn't think of a way to do it. The look in her eyes turned fierce at that thought. She glared at Chief Chiao and prompted him. Chief Chiao, did I pass the Year 2 entrance exam or not? Everyone looked at Chief Chiao in bewilderment. With everyone watching, Chief Chiao wouldn't try to give Feng Wu a hard time, would he? With the talent Feng Wu had just demonstrated, she had proven herself as capable as the 7th best student in the year, which was enough to qualify her as a Year 2 student. Chief Chiao looked up to see the strange looks the students were giving him, and was instantly overwhelmed with rage. He wasn't just outraged because of Feng Wu's disobedience, he was also angry at himself because there was nothing he could do to stop her, which was so frustrating. Feng Wu was about to ask a 3rd time when Chief Chiao finally answered. Yes, you have, but... Chief Chiao was about to lecture Feng Wu. However, Feng Wu turned to leave before he could even start. She didn't even look back. Chief Chiao was speechless. So were the students. Chiao, he thought she was going to explode, and she screamed at Feng Wu. Feng Wu, stop right there. Who the hell do you think you are? How dare you disrespect my father? However, no matter how loudly Chiao he screamed, Feng Wu ignored her completely. You have 10 seconds left. The fairy was on the verge of crying. She thought her heart was going to jump out of her mouth, and she almost forgot to breathe. Feng Wu's fourth trial was to enter year 2, become a top 10 student to impress Jun Linyuan, and make him call her his little fool. How would someone as aloof as Jun Linyuan call a girl my little fool, let alone in front of so many people? The crown prince valued his dignity above anything else, and the fairy was full of despair. 9, 8, 7, the fairy counted down in a hopeless voice. Feng Wu rushed over to Jun Linyuan and gasped for breath as she held his long and strong arm and stared at him with an urgent look in her eyes. She racked her brain to search for a way to make Jun Linyuan say those words. She thought she was going to lose her mind. Seeing the way Feng Wu was glaring at Jun Linyuan, Feng Sun tried to intervene. Xiao Wu. The calmer Feng Wu was, the more worried she became. There had to be a way. Suddenly, Feng Wu remembered the wordplay game she used to play in her previous life, and her eyes flickered. She then yelled at Jun Linyuan. What's the opposite of your big genius? She placed all her hopes in that question. Jun Linyuan had to understand what she was asking and say those 3 words. Chapter 1385, Level 3, Spiritual Elder. Chapter 1385, Level 3, Spiritual Elder. If you didn't get the message, she would never be able to collect all the broken star pieces, and her beautiful master would remain asleep forever. 4, 3, 2. The fairy's heart was thumping and threatened to jump out of her mouth. At the last second, my little fool. He looked at Feng Wu with his twinkling, brooding eyes, and he had never looked so gentle. Boom! Feng Wu felt as though her head was going to explode. After the initial astonishment, she was ecstatic. Ah, we did it! We did it! Master, you finished the 4th trial at the last second. The fairy cried out in excitement in Feng Wu's head. She was genuinely happy for Feng Wu. I succeeded. After hearing the announcement, Feng Wu felt something relax inside her, and the next second, she toppled over. Jun Linyuan was right next to her, and of course he wouldn't let Feng Wu fall. He caught her in his arms. Everyone around them sucked in their breaths. Oh God, that was unbelievable. The crown prince, who was supposed to be a neat freak and stay away from Feng Wu, was holding her in his arms. He did it willingly, and that raised a lot of questions. No. Zhuo bit her lower lip and sounded anxious when she said, Feng Wu is such a schemer. Huh? Everyone looked at Zhuo Qingyu in confusion. She tricked his royal highness into calling her his little fool. Zhuo Qingyu gritted her teeth and smirked. And now, she's lying in the crown prince's arms. No one could be more a schemer than she is. The male students didn't think much of it, but many female students were provoked by Zhuo Qingyu's words and clenched their fists in anger. They never thought that Feng Wu would do such a thing, and their newly formed good opinion of her disappeared instantly. Jun Linyuan was about to pick Feng Wu up when Xiaoge rushed over and shouted, Xiao Wu, are you all right? She snatched Feng Wu away from Jun Linyuan as she spoke. Jun Linyuan was speechless. Feng Sun studied the crown prince's dark face, first before glancing at the dauntless Duan Xiaoge. What a brave girl. He was impressed by the fact that she dared to steal Boss Jun's girl. The crowd gradually dispersed, but the news that Feng Wu had passed 12 trials of the Dragon's Gate in a row became a sensation in Initial. But Initial was a closed-off area, so the news hadn't gotten out yet. The Zhuo family. Zhuo Qingyu asked to see Zhuo Ming as soon as she got home. At this late hour, Zhuo Ming was already asleep. He was very grumpy when he was woken up. However, before he could lash out, Zhuo Qingyu shouted, Father, Feng Wu passed 12 trials of the Dragon's Gate in a row. What? Zhuo Ming was instantly wide awake, and he stared at Zhuo Qingyu without batting an eyelash. The look on his face was terrifying. He knew about Feng Wu's Dragon's Gate challenge. I thought the news going around was that Feng Wu gave up before the trials even started, Zhuo Ming said. Zhuo Qingyu's eyes were bloodshot as she said, Give up? That never happened. She's capable enough to pass 12 floors in a row. And there's more. Chapter 1386. We have to stop her. Chapter 1386. We have to stop her. Zwitchinyu gritted her teeth. During the challenge, she became a level 3 spiritual elder. What? Zhuoming was fully awake now, and he stared at Zwitchinyu with cold eyes. Wasn't she a mere level 9 spiritual grandmaster when we saw her the other day? She was. Zwitchinyu was almost in tears. She was indeed a level 9 spiritual grandmaster before, but she made 3 breakthroughs in a row in the Dragon's Gate. That's impossible. Zhuoming refused to believe it. Taking a deep breath, Zwitchinyu said solemnly, "Father, so many people watched the Dragon's Gate challenge, and we all saw it. Feng Wu has risen from a level 9 spiritual grandmaster to a level 3 spiritual elder. She made 3 breakthroughs in a row." Zhuoming looked so shocked. He genuinely felt threatened by Feng Wu. The girl had already been spectacular 5 years ago. He had thought that Feng Wu would waste away after her true phoenix blood was taken. However, she had risen again, and the speed at which she was making her achievements was astonishing. Are you sure she's already a level 3 spiritual elder? Could she have played some trick? Zhuoming still wasn't fully convinced. Zwitchinyu smiled bitterly. Everyone was watching every step Feng Wu made. If she had tried to play a trick, we would have seen it. A level 3 spiritual elder. It's only been a few months since she revealed her ability, but she has already risen from a spiritual master to a spiritual elder. At this speed, it won't be long before she catches up with your sister. If that happened, what they did back then would be for nothing. No, we have to stop her. Zhuoming took a deep breath. Zwitchinyu added fuel to the flames, and Feng Wu ended up passing out in His Royal Highness's arms. That little slut. How dare she? Zhuoming had always considered himself the Crown Prince's future father-in-law. However, history seemed to be repeating itself now. No, we can't let this happen again. Feng Wu has to die. Zhuoming clenched his fists and walked back and forth in the room. Shall we assassinate her? Zwitchinyu asked. Zhuoming shook his head. He had tried to assassinate Feng Wu several times without any success, which had made him very disappointed in the flying guillotine. Moreover, if the assassination succeeded, the Zhou family would be the prime suspect. We can't do that again. There has to be another way. Rubbing his chin, Zhuoming fell in a deep thought. Feng Wu had no idea that after what she had achieved, she had become the Zhou family's biggest enemy again, and they couldn't wait to see her dead. Right now, she was finally awake. However, there was a splitting pain in her head as soon as she tried to open her eyes. She felt like she had been run over by a carriage. "Xiao Wu, how are you doing?" Seeing that Feng Wu was awake, Chaoga immediately fetched her some water. Qiuling had changed Feng Wu out of her bloody clothes into clean ones. Gurgle. Feng Wu downed the water like a dry riverbed. Only then did she feel better. "How long have I been out for?" Her voice was so hoarse that she sounded like a broken gong. Feng Wu had been caught up in the 12 trials of love, and her health had been severely compromised. She was too weak to even move a muscle now. Chapter 1387, Untitled. Chapter 1387, Untitled. It's only been 3 days. Duan Chaoga seemed concerned. "Xiao Wu, are you sure you're all right? Should we find you a doctor?" Feng Wu waved her hand. She herself was the best doctor, so why should she trust other people? "Don't worry about it. It's only some minor injuries. I'll be fine after some rest." Feng Wu leaned back on the pillow and closed her eyes. She was already talking to the fairy in her head. Their eyes met, and they both sighed with relief. The 4 trial had simply been too dangerous. They had been so close to failing and losing the broken star piece for good. They both let out breaths of relief and chuckled. "When will the 5th trial start?" Feng Wu suddenly asked. Tilting her head, the fairy pondered before finally giving Feng Wu an answer. "It can happen at any moment." By that, she meant that the new trial could happen at any random moment. Feng Wu spent the next few days recuperating at home and using the time to consolidate her spiritual essence. The 3 consecutive breakthroughs had happened so fast that her progress felt a little shaky. Thus, Feng Wu spent most of her energy on consolidating her cultivation level while keeping an eye out for the new trial. During those few days, Feng Wu went to Imperial College to register as a Year 2 student. The entire time, Chief Chao's face was so dark that one could practically make ink with it. Many students speculated that Chief Chao would target Feng Wu after she became a member of Initial. But Feng Wu didn't think much of it, because Initial was only a transition point for her, and she wouldn't be there for long. Just like everyone else suspected, Feng Wu's name showed up on the billboard as soon as she officially became a Year 2 student. And her name quickly made its way up the billboard. The rankings refreshed every 2 minutes, and the students also searched for her name every other minute. 1,000th, 800th, 500th, 100th, 50th, 30th. It didn't surprise anyone when Feng Wu made it into the top 10. Oh God, I thought it was just a wild guess, but Feng Wu really became a top 10 student. No, she's 98th. Holy crap. Do you think she'll make it into the top 7? Look, Feng Wu is already 7th. Instantly, a hubbub of voices filled the air. Can she move further up? However, Feng Wu's fiery red name eventually stopped in 7th place, replacing Song Yichen. While the other students had yet to recover from their amazement, Feng Wu was already back in her Fallen Star yard. Initial might be a closed-off area, but Feng Wu was such a high-profile name that the news had already gotten out. However, the people outside still had doubts because they hadn't seen it with their own eyes. Feng Wu, a level 3 spiritual elder? Impossible. The Year 1 students were the first to hear the news. They all fell silent when they heard what happened. Only a short while ago, they were so convinced that Feng Wu only got into Imperial College because she had cheated in the exam. However, they had now been proven completely wrong. Chapter 1388. Chapter 1388, Untitled. A Level 3 Spiritual Elder. Most of the Year 1 students were junior spiritual grandmasters, but Feng Wu had just risen to a level beyond their reach. Gong Sunqing opened her mouth, but all words failed her. Huiyin and Mu Qing listened with their mouths agape. Yi Yifei was rendered speechless. Was Feng Wu going to regain her glory? Feng Sang stood there dazed, her head completely blank. 5 years ago, Feng Wu astounded the world with her incredible talent, and used to be the center of all attention. In comparison, Feng Sang was like an ugly duckling that went unnoticed. No, Feng Sang clenched her fists and bit her lower lip. She had lived so happily during the past 5 years when Feng Wu's name wasn't hanging over her head like a giant mountain. Finally, she had been able to run away from Feng Wu's shadow. Zhuo Qingwan. Wait, there's still Zhuo Qingwan. I'm sure she won't let Feng Wu outshine her. Rong Shixin and Si Yuan stared at each other, both looking utterly shocked. That was especially the case with Si Yuan. He still remembered that it was only the other day when he arrogantly told Feng Wu that he would be able to protect her if she agreed to be his girlfriend. However, Feng Wu had become so powerful that he had to look up to her. How humiliating. The shame made Si Yuan turn scarlet red in the face. Feng Wu had no idea what the Year 1 students were going through as she went straight back to her Fallen Star yard after registration. Life in Fallen Star yard was peaceful and quiet, and the rumors about Feng Wu in the outside world gradually faded. Life seemed to go back to normal. During these uneventful days, apart from her own cultivation practice, Feng Wu would also instruct her friends. Thanks to her beautiful master's teaching, Feng Wu was able to comprehend cultivation theories better than a lot of masters. Moreover, with the help of the formation next door, the members of Fallen Star Yard made rapid progress in their cultivation. Rumble. In a small courtyard, one could always hear the sound of someone making a breakthrough. Qiuling, the diligent and kind girl, had been working very hard to catch up to Feng Wu. She had risen to become a level 5 spiritual master from level 1. With Feng Wu's help in the last few days, she quickly became a level 7 spiritual master. And now, with the formation and some spiritual medicine, a level 9 spiritual master, sensing the abundant spiritual essence flowing through her veins, Qiuling almost cried in excitement. "Miss, I'm a level 9 spiritual master now. I can't believe it." Feng Lu herself had been a mere level 9 spiritual master when she took Imperial College's entrance exam a few months ago. Qiuling was almost as capable as Feng Lu now. She couldn't believe it. She had always thought that cultivation was an extremely difficult thing, and a breakthrough seemed an impossible mission for her. But now, overwhelmed with excitement and happiness, Qiuling burst into tears. And she wasn't alone. Uncle Qiu looked as baffled as she was. That was because a level 9 spiritual grandmaster? Miss, he couldn't believe his ears. He was astonished. Only 6 months ago in Northern Border City, he had been a level 9 spiritual master who had reached his bottleneck. He used to think that he would never make another breakthrough again. But who knew? Just months after arriving in the Imperial capital, Chapter 1389, Untitled. Chapter 1389, Untitled. With the help of Feng Wu's formation and spiritual medicine, as well as the Book of Tong Tian, the manual which Feng Wu had specially written for him, he made rapid progress, as if he were on a rocket. Miss, this can't be happening. Something's wrong, isn't it? Even someone as level-headed as Uncle Qiu was speaking in a shaky voice, because the speed at which he was making progress was simply too unbelievable. Feng Wu smiled and said, "Uncle Qiu, don't you think that you're much more capable now?" "I do." "Then, do you think you're not worthy of your cultivation level?" "Well, not exactly, but how is this speed possible?" Uncle Qiu was in his 50s, but he now looked as baffled as a primary school student. He had yet to recover from the astonishment. Feng Wu smiled. "It won't be possible for other people, but we have my spiritual medicine." "Uncle Qiu, do you remember the black tiger pills in that black porcelain bottle?" Uncle Qiu nodded. "Those are some very effective pills." Feng Wu chuckled. "Of course they're effective. They're supreme level pills." "Supreme level?" Uncle Qiu's eyes widened, and he looked astonished. "They're so expensive. I've seen the price in large pharmacies. One single pill is worth our entire courtyard." "What? That's so expensive." Granny Zhao was hanging the laundry when she heard this, and she cried out in amazement. Uncle Qiu nodded. "That's right. Plus, you can't buy them even if you have money. Nearly all supreme level pills are in the hands of the auction houses, and anyone who wants them has to bid for them. The price is exorbitantly high." He then realized something. "Miss, why didn't you tell me they were supreme level pills in the beginning?" Feng Wu grinned. "Would you have taken them if I had told you?" At the thought of the precious pills, Granny Zhao scolded Uncle Qiu. "I can't believe this. How many have you taken?" Uncle Qiu said, "Miss Wu told me to take one every morning when I got up. After that, I should cultivate in the morning sunlight to absorb the spiritual essence of nature. One pill a day." Granny Zhao almost jumped to her feet. "That is to say, you've been eating one fallen star yard every single day." Uncle Qiu didn't know what to say. "You've used up so many of Miss Wu's resources. How dare you? You." Granny Zhao looked like she wanted to dig the black tiger pills out of Uncle Qiu's belly. Feng Wu stopped her with a smile. "It's true. The supreme level pills are very expensive on the market because there are only a handful of supreme level medicine refiners out there, and the success rate is extremely low. 5% is considered quite high. That was to say, only 5 out of every 100 supreme level pills would turn out to be effective ones, which was already very impressive." However, Feng Wu looked quite pleased when she said, "This supreme level medicine refiner right in front of you has an extremely high success rate. 50% of the pills I make are effective ones." She chuckled and said, "I only used a lot of raw materials, that's all. Don't use the price outside as your standard." "But that's still a lot of money." The thought of Uncle Qiu ingesting a pill every day that was worth a courtyard in the Imperial capital still made Granny Zhao frown. Feng Wu smiled. "We have enough money, but not enough capable people. Granny Zhao, we all have to make progress as fast as we can, because only then can we protect our fallen star yard, right? Chapter 1390, Untitled. Chapter 1390, Untitled. Granny Zhou agreed with Feng Wu, but that didn't stop her from feeling sorry over those precious pills. Uncle Chiu is a level 9 spiritual grandmaster now, Feng Wu said with a smile. When he becomes a spiritual elder or a spiritual lord, no one will dare to pick on us again. Granny Zhao gave her a wry smile and said grumpily, "A spiritual lord? He'll never get that far." Feng Wu chuckled inwardly and thought, why not? Anything is possible. Chaoga had been improving rapidly these days as well. She had already been a level 4 spiritual grandmaster, and with the help of medicine, the formation, and the manual, she rose to level 8. One had to admit that Chaoga was an extremely talented girl as well. However, Feng Xiaoqi was without doubt the most accomplished of them all. The little guy, when Grand Secretary Feng came out of seclusion and saw Feng Xiaoqi, his mouth fell open. For a long while, he didn't know what to say. That was because Feng Xiaoqi had only been a level 7 spiritual master when Grand Secretary Feng went into seclusion, but now he was already a level 5 spiritual grandmaster. That's impossible. The old man rubbed his own head and wondered if he had lost his mind. Pulling Feng Xiaoqi to his side, Grand Secretary Feng looked him up and down and even asked the boy things that only the two of them would know. Bewildered, Feng Xiaoqi answered all the questions correctly, but the old man was still astonished. Feng Wu stood next to them and chuckled. "Old master, are you worried that Xiaoqi's soul has been replaced?" Grand Secretary Feng stared at Feng Wu in disbelief. "Haven't you noticed?" "Notice what?" Feng Wu was confused. "He's risen from a level 7 spiritual master to a level 5 spiritual grandmaster. Don't you find that strange?" It had only been 2 weeks. Feng Wu shrugged. "Isn't that the normal speed?" "The normal speed?" Grand Secretary Feng didn't know what to say. The normal speed was extremely slow, and one would be considered an outstanding cultivator if they could make 1 breakthrough a year. But Feng Xiaoqi had made 7 breakthroughs in 2 weeks. That was insane. It'll damage his health. After making sure that Feng Xiaoqi really was who he claimed to be, Grand Secretary Feng started examining him. To his astonishment, after the series of breakthroughs, the boy was fine. He was more than fine. He was brimming with spiritual essence. Grand Secretary Feng didn't know what to say. He gave Feng Wu a strange look. Even with Xiaoqi's ultimate spiritual body, he shouldn't be able to make breakthroughs so rapidly. "Kiddo, how did you do it?" Feng Wu chuckled. "He has medicine, the formation, and the manual I specially created for him. Plus, he's very lucky. So there you go." She then switched to a more serious tone. "Old master, you're correct when you say that rapid progress will harm one's health, and it's not good for one's foundation either. Therefore, Xiaoqi will have to focus on strengthening his foundation for a while, and I'm leaving him in your care." Grand Secretary Feng waved her off. He had yet to recover from his astonishment. 7 breakthroughs in a fortnight. He shook his head repeatedly. "How many more surprises is your family going to give me?" Chapter 1391. Chapter 1391, Untitled. You're going to have an unprecedented genius in your family. He will outshine even you one day, the old man said in amazement. But Feng Wu only smiled at him. Grand Secretary Feng said grumpily, "What? You don't believe me?" Feng Wu was still smiling. The old man was about to explain when he heard footsteps outside. "Old master, Chief Chiao, and Chief, you are here to see you." Those were the heads of Year 2 and Year 1 in Imperial College respectively. What were they doing here? Taking Feng Xiaoqi's hand, Feng Wu said, "Old master, we'll be on our way." The Feng Manor was right next door to the Feng Manor, and the 2 siblings only had to jump over a wall to return home. "Sister, you can have all the glory. All I want to do is protect you." The look on Feng Xiaoqi's exquisite face had never been so serious, and he stared at Feng Wu with his twinkling eyes. Feng Wu rubbed his head. I'm wearing my concealing jade, which is why Grand Secretary Feng couldn't detect my level. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said that. But he was genuinely amazed by your achievement. Xiaoqi was about to speak when Feng Wu silenced him with a wave of her hand. Because on the other side of the wall, Chief Qiao and Chief Yu had arrived. After greeting Grand Secretary Feng, Chief Yu cut to the chase. Sir, we're here today to report to you on Feng Wu. She has skipped a grade. Feng Wu had skipped a grade? Grand Secretary Feng looked confused because Feng Wu hadn't mentioned it to him earlier. Skip a grade? She can no longer stay in year 1, then. Crossing his hands behind his back, Grand Secretary Feng looked in the direction of the Feng Manor, as if he could see through the wall. Chief Yu smiled wryly. Feng Wu is too talented for year 1, and I had to let her go. Moreover, she passed the Dragon's Gate challenge. Grand Secretary Feng nodded slightly. Seeing how indifferent Grand Secretary Feng was, Chief Yu realized that he must think Feng Wu had passed the normal level only. She sighed inwardly and added, she made it all the way to the insane level. What? The old steward had just handed Grand Secretary Feng his morning tea, and the old man almost choked on his first sip. What did you just say? After finally swallowing the tea, Grand Secretary Feng stared at Chief Yu in disbelief. Before Chief Yu could answer, Chief Qiao interjected, Feng Wu may be a talented student, but she has a very questionable disposition and moral character, which is a very big issue. For example, Chief Qiao was about to report to Grand Secretary Feng when the old man waved him off. He stared at Chief Yu and asked, What did you say? The insane level? Why the insane level? Knowing that Grand Secretary Feng was on Feng Wu's side, Chief Yu nodded and said hastily, Feng Wu was late, and there was only a limited time that the Dragon's Gate could be opened for. With you in seclusion, we could only open the hardest level. And she agreed? Grand Secretary Feng frowned. Chief Yu glanced at Chief Qiao. Chief Qiao nodded. Yes, she did. He couldn't understand why Grand Secretary Feng was pursuing this issue, because that was hardly the problem here. While Chief Qiao was still feeling perplexed, Chief Yu saw the light. It seemed Chapter 1392, Untitled. Chapter 1392, Untitled. Grand Secretary Feng genuinely cared about Feng Wu. Instead of asking if she had succeeded, he only wanted to know if she had been picked on. Go on. Grand Secretary Feng nodded. Once Chief Qiao started talking, he couldn't stop. Feng Wu is so self-confident in her great talent that she's unbelievably arrogant. Not only that, she imagined me as her enemy in her illusion and beat me up to humiliate me. Sir, you have to punish this unruly student. Chief Qiao knew that with Jun Linyuan behind Feng Wu, there was nothing he could do. That was why he had come here to Grand Secretary Feng, hoping that the old man would punish her. What Chief Qiao didn't know was that Grand Secretary Feng was Feng Wu's real patron, and he doted on Feng Wu more than anyone else. Listening to how Chief Qiao wouldn't stop saying bad things about Feng Wu, Grand Secretary Feng looked very displeased. Chief Qiao was elated to see Grand Secretary Feng's dark face and was ready to make more accusations. However, there was no warmth in Grand Secretary Feng's eyes when he cast a stern look at Chief Qiao. That look reminded Chief Qiao of a sharp blade, and he was too scared to move a muscle. After all, Feng Wu had helped Grand Secretary Feng with his last breakthrough, which now made him one of the top cultivators in the empire. The old man stared at Chief Qiao and asked, Why do you think she's targeting you? Chief Qiao said, Because she's an arrogant student with low moral standards and has no respect for her teachers. Chief Yu chuckled inwardly and interjected, It's because Chief Qiao agreed to let her skip a grade in the beginning, but because he doesn't like Feng Wu and Chief Qiao wanted to avenge his daughter, he deliberately made things difficult for Feng Wu and forced her to take the Dragon's Gate challenge. Chief Qiao stared at Chief Yu and said furiously, You, is that true? Grand Secretary Feng's face had turned livid. Chief Qiao said, I was only following the normal procedure. Grand Secretary Fong waved him off and asked, "Is Feng Wu a Year 2 student now then?" Chief Chiao nodded. Grand Secretary Fong asked, "So, she passed the challenge?" Chief Chiao nodded again. Chief Yu interjected at that moment. "Sir, you have no idea how amazing that girl is. She passed 13 floors in a row." 13 floors? So, she reached the insane level. Really? Grand Secretary Fong was genuinely surprised this time. As the head of Imperial College, he knew better than anyone else what the insane level stood for. If I remember correctly, no more than 6 people in Initial have ever entered that level. Grand Secretary Fong was astonished. "That's right." Chief Yu smiled and said, "That's why Feng Wu is 7th on the billboard." "What?" Grand Secretary Fong raised his eyebrows. 7th? Grand Secretary Fong had been worried about the girl, thinking that she wouldn't be able to pass the Dragon's Gate challenge. But what a pleasant surprise. She was already the 7th best student in the year. Doesn't one need to be at least a level 3 spiritual elder to get that high up on the billboard? Grand Secretary Fong remembered that Feng Wu was only a level 9 spiritual grandmaster when he went into seclusion. Yes, Chief Yu couldn't hide the excitement on her face when she said, "That's right." While Feng Wu was taking the challenge, she rose from a level 9 spiritual grandmaster to a level 3 spiritual elder with 3 breakthroughs in a row. What the heck? If Grand Secretary Fong had known that was what Feng Wu's expression meant, he wouldn't have blurted out those words just now. Chapter 1393, Untitled. Chapter 1393, Untitled. Even Grand Secretary Fong couldn't remain calm anymore. A level 3 spiritual elder. Cough, cough. Choking on the air he sucked in, Grand Secretary Fong broke into a fit of coughs. Yes, Feng Wu is already a level 3 spiritual elder now. Chief Yu sounded thrilled. After all, Feng Wu could be considered one of her students as well. Recalling the concealing jade Feng Wu was wearing, Grand Secretary Fong smiled bitterly. That was why he had been misled and made that comment. It seemed that Feng Wu was going to get all the spotlight after all. She may be a talented student, but her moral character, Chief Chiao, still wouldn't give up. Grand Secretary Fong stared at Chief Chiao. "Do you dislike the girl so much that you can't bear to have her around you?" Chief Chiao nodded repeatedly to express how much he disliked Feng Wu. Grand Secretary Fong snorted. "If that's the case, you're relieved from your position as the chief of Initial." "What?" Chief Chiao almost choked. He stared at Grand Secretary Fong with wide-open eyes and asked, "Sir WH, what's that supposed to mean?" Grand Secretary Fong smirked. "I think it's quite self-explanatory." Only then did Chief Chiao realize that the old man was serious. "Sir, I was promoted by Mr. Liu himself. Even if I'm to be fired, I have to hear it from Mr. Liu himself." Grand Secretary Fong sneered at him and casually flipped one sleeve. Chief Chiao, who had dominated Initial for years, flew through the air like a kite with a cut string. He then fell to the ground with a loud thump. "Wretch!" Chief Chiao spat out a mouthful of blood. "Sir, how can you treat me like that over a mere student? When Mr. Liu comes back..." Grand Secretary Fong found Chief Chiao pathetic. The man still didn't understand what was going on. Feng Wu was the type of genius who only showed up once every million years, but someone as common as Chief Chiao was a dime a dozen. "You're the chief of Initial now." Grand Secretary Fong gave the job to Chief Yu instead. Overwhelmed by the unexpected favor, Chief Yu immediately expressed her gratitude and pledged her loyalty. After Chief Yu took Chief Chiao away, Grand Secretary Fong cleared his throat and headed for Fallen Star Yard. He had been there once before, so he still remembered its members. Steward Fong walked behind Grand Secretary Fong with a thick robe in his hands so that he could put it over the old man's shoulders when needed. Grand Secretary Fong. Chilling spotted Grand Secretary Fong when she walked out of her room and immediately greeted him with a bow. Feng Wu had the concealing jade, but Chilling didn't. Grand Secretary Fong took one look and was astonished. "You're Feng Wu's maid, aren't you?" Someone of Grand Secretary Fong's status normally wouldn't pay any attention to a maid like Xiaoling, but now he was genuinely surprised. Xiaoling didn't expect an influential figure like Grand Secretary Fong to actually remember her, and she nodded repeatedly. Yes, sir. I'm Xiaoling, Miss Fong Wu's chambermaid. Grand Secretary Fong waved at her and said, I see that you've made some significant improvements recently. Xiaoling looked thrilled when she heard the comment, and she nodded repeatedly. Yes, sir. With the help of Miss Wu's medicine, formation, and instructions, I'm already a level 9 spiritual master now. To Grand Secretary Fong, a level 9 spiritual master usually wasn't worth mentioning, but, Sir, when we met last time, I was only a level 3 spiritual master. The old man didn't know what to say. Chapter 1394, Untitled. Chapter 1394, Untitled. Why does this family have so many incredible people? Even the chambermaid here makes progress at an unbelievable speed. Uncle Chiu came from the backyard when he heard the voices outside. Grand Secretary Fong's eyes flickered when he saw Uncle Chiu. It's an honor to meet you, sir. Uncle Chiu greeted Grand Secretary Fong. Grand Secretary Fong kept his gaze on Uncle Chiu and asked, Are you a level 9 spiritual grandmaster now? Uncle Chiu nodded excitedly. Last time when I saw you, I was a level 9 spiritual master when we last met. Grand Secretary Fong didn't remember when he last met Uncle Chiu, but Feng Wu and her family had only been back from the northern border for less than 6 months. During that time, a mere maid had risen from a level 3 spiritual master to a level 9 spiritual master. And a steward/guard of the family had risen from a level 9 spiritual master to a level 9 spiritual grandmaster. Grand Secretary Fong sucked his breath when he recalled how rapid Feng Wu and Feng Xiaoqi's progress was. No one could comprehend how astonished Grand Secretary Fong was at that moment. Sir, seeing the look on Grand Secretary Fong's face, his steward reached out to steady him. Grand Secretary Fong waved him off and turned to look at Chong San. Chong San used to be the captain of Jun Lin Yuan's guards and was an advanced cultivator himself. But now, he was visibly envious when he looked at Uncle Chiu and Xiaoling. However, he immediately turned his head away and acted perfectly normal when Grand Secretary Fong glanced at him. One look and Grand Secretary Fong could see Chong San's true capability. I see that General Chong hasn't changed much. Finally, Grand Secretary Fong thought he had found someone normal. Chong San sighed inwardly, but he kept his face very straight. He had been fired by the Crown Prince after making a serious mistake and had been sent here to Fallen Star Yard to protect Feng Wu. His workplace had changed from the spacious Crown Prince's residence to the tiny Fallen Star Yard, and he had been demoted from captain of the Crown Prince's guards to a mere bodyguard for Feng Wu. Chong San had yet to adapt to this drastic change, so he had remained distant since coming here. His attitude toward Feng Wu could hardly be considered friendly. Grand Secretary Fong didn't say much after glancing at him. He only patted Chong San on the shoulder and said, Remember, without the girl, they would still have been ordinary people. Feng Wu could work wonders and turn ordinary people into great talents. Chong San was an advanced cultivator who was innately endowed. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to become the captain of the guards in the Crown Prince's residence. Grand Secretary Fong wondered what would happen if Chong San yielded to Feng Wu. He was looking forward to it. He then spotted Duan Chaoga. Grand Secretary Fong could tell right away that the girl had made some amazing progress as well, because Chaoga was already a level 8 spiritual grandmaster, which just happened to meet the entry requirement for year 2. He patted Chaoga on the shoulder before entering the living room. Feng Wu was holding a tiger cub with a pink nose and pink paw pads. It looked a lot like a kitten. However, Grand Secretary Fong was dazed as soon as he saw the cub. He was the deputy principal and acting principal of Imperial College. As one of the top cultivators of the Empire, he thought he had seen everything. But this cub, Grand Secretary Fong swallowed, and his voice was husky when he spoke again. Its current capability With a wave of his hand, the cub flew toward him. The cub had finally woken up after digesting all the spiritual essence it had absorbed, but Grand Secretary Fong now had a hold of it. Chapter 1395, Untitled. Chapter 1395, Untitled. Even this little guy is a spiritual elder. Grand Secretary Fong had initially thought that Feng Xiaoqi was the most efficient cultivator in this family, but to his surprise, the cub was already a level 1 spiritual elder. But it's such a young cub. Grand Secretary Fong was utterly befuddled. Feng Wu smiled wryly and said, "That's right. It's less than 6 months old and has hardly cultivated at all. When it's not playing, it's eating or sleeping." And just like that, this little cub, which spent its days eating, sleeping, and acting cute on repeat, somehow became a level 1 spiritual elder. The old man didn't know what to say. What kind of blessed place is this courtyard? Despite the unperturbed look on his face, Grand Secretary Fong had been astonished over and over again. The cub looked puzzled and stared at Grand Secretary Fong with its bright eyes, trying to figure out what the old man was surprised about. Grand Secretary Fong looked from the cub to Feng Wu's right shoulder, where a bird was casually preening. This, Grand Secretary Fong felt his head spin. It's a level 1 spiritual elder. Feng Wu smiled awkwardly. Feng Wu had taken the 2 pets out of her ring space when they woke up just then, and she was baffled by what she saw. She knew that they would be much more capable after they woke up, but she hadn't expected it would be to this extent. Grand Secretary Fong was utterly amazed. That's a very big improvement in the overall strength of Fallen Star Yard. That was right. Before, this family was practically defenseless, and the only guard they had was Uncle Chio, a level 9 spiritual master. But now, everyone was so much more capable now. Grand Secretary Fong didn't stay for long. Before he left, he reminded Feng Wu that everyone should work on consolidating their foundations for a while and shouldn't try to make any more breakthroughs. Feng Wu thought the same and was already working on some medicine to facilitate the process. Just then, they heard footsteps outside. Holy crap! Uncle Chio, you're so much more capable now. They immediately recognized the voice, which belonged to none other than young Lord Feng himself. Feng Sun was a regular visitor of Fallen Star Yard, and he let himself in as though he owned the place. He couldn't help but speak in amazement when he saw Feng Wu. "Xiao Wu, this is amazing. Uncle Chio has made such incredible progress." Feng Wu nodded with a smile. Chioling came out with a smile to serve Feng Sun his tea. "Young Lord Feng, please have some tea." Feng Sun glanced at her. However, he immediately forgot what he was going to say and almost dropped his cup. "Little Feng Wu, this is..." Feng Sun stared at Chioling in disbelief. Chiolinger. He couldn't understand how Chioling had suddenly become a level 9 spiritual master. She was qualified to take the entrance exam for Imperial College. Chioling smiled and gave Feng Sun a bow. She then left the room with her tray. Brother Feng, Brother Feng." Feng Xiaoqi ran up to Feng Sun and held his arm. Feng Sun was full of despair when he looked at the boy, because Feng Xiaoqi's cultivation level had also risen. Feng Sun had yet to recover from his astonishment when the 2 pets started running around him. "Try him," Feng Wu said. Chapter 1396, Untitled. Chapter 1396, Untitled. Instantly, Chioling, Uncle Chio, Feng Xiaoqi, Chaoga, and the 2 pets jumped at Feng Sun. Feng Sun was about the same level as Wu Qingwan. Thud, thud, thud. Immediately, all hell broke loose in the yard. Feng Wu started formulating battle strategies as she watched. At first, Feng Sun was taken by surprise and flustered by the sudden attack, but when all was said and done, he was an experienced warrior. Once he calmed down, he soon gained the upper hand. Thump, 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 and the members of Fallen Star Yard began to lose. Feng Wu found a chance to join them as well, But the gap between their cultivation levels and Feng Sun's was simply too big. So, thump. After Feng Sun used one of his major stances, they all stumbled backward and fell to the ground. Feng Sun gave them an odd look. You guys are so weak. Before Feng Wu joined in, Feng Sun could defeat the others in 3 strikes. Even with Feng Wu there, Feng Sun was still able to take care of them with only 10 strikes. Feng Sun's words woke Feng Wu up like a bucket of cold water. That was right. She was so overwhelmed by their rapid progress that she forgot how little combat experience they had. Real ability had to be accumulated through actual combat. She realized that she had started celebrating too soon. Xiao Wu? Xiao Wu. Feng Sun patted Feng Wu's head. Feng Wu gave him a grumpy glance. Are you going to the Immortal Flower Festival? The Immortal Flower was the national flower of the Junwu Empire, and tomorrow was the festival named after it. To the young people of the empire, the Immortal Flower had a special meaning. The youth of the empire, thus, would always try to use this opportunity to meet their potential partners in the Immortal Flower Grove. Feng Wu threw a dirty look at Feng Sun. Are you making fun of me? Feng Sun said, huh? Feng Wu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Where would I find time to go? Feng Sun rubbed his chin. Are you sure? Feng Wu said, yes. Feng Sun seemed baffled. He stood there and gave Feng Wu a pleading look. Feng Wu was bewildered. Why are you still here? Feng Sun asked. Are you sure you're not going? Feng Wu replied, stressing each word. I'm really not going. Even if I have the time, I'm not interested at all. Feng Sun said, but if you don't go. He mumbled something, which Feng Wu missed. She asked, what was that? Feng Sun grumbled. Why haven't you asked me what I'm here for? Feng Wu smacked her head. That's right. What are you doing here? Could her tone be any more perfunctory? Feng Sun flicked Feng Wu in the forehead and asked the ultimate question. What if Boss Jun invites you to go? Try to say no to that. Feng Sun grumbled inwardly. However, to Feng Sun's surprise, Feng Wu refused again. Nope, I'm not going. She might go have a look without Jun Linyuan's invitation. But with Jun Linyuan there, and given that it was a special festival, Feng Wu couldn't stay far away enough from that place. Feng Sun studied Feng Wu's face. Are you sure? Feng Wu said decisively. Yes. Feng Sun gave her a nudge. There. Stop pretending. It's not fun anymore. Let's go. Feng Wu frowned and cast a stern look at Feng Sun. It gave Feng Sun the creeps. Feng Sun, I need to talk to you. Chapter 1397, Untitled. Chapter 1397, Untitled. Go ahead. Feng Wu took a deep breath and pondered for a moment before she said, I don't have those kinds of feelings for Jun Linyuan, nor does he have them for me. Please don't insinuate anything like that again in the future, all right? Feng Sun rolled his eyes at Feng Wu when he heard that. Didn't have feelings for Boss Jun? Then why would she cozy up to him and hold his hand? What about the upsy daisy? And why did she think that Boss Jun had no feelings for her? Given Jun Linyuan's social status and his arrogance, he would never give her so much attention or help her all the time if he didn't have feelings for her. Feng Sun found Feng Wu very naive. He stared at Feng Wu and asked, Little Feng Wu, do you mean it? Feng Wu nodded solemnly. Of course. Feng Sun stared at Feng Wu for a while longer before he burst out laughing. Feng Wu was confused. Why are you laughing? Feng Sun patted her on the head and said, Fine. You don't have to go if you don't want to, but don't try denying your feelings. We all have eyes, and we've all seen the signs. Hey, what am I denying? I mean, Feng Sun had run out of sight before Feng Wu could finish, and she stomped her foot in frustration. She couldn't feel any more frustrated. The so-called 12 trials of love were the worst. If she hadn't chosen the mission herself, Feng Wu would think that someone up there genuinely hated her. The Immortal Flower Festival was the following day, and all the young men and women of the Imperial capital flooded into the Immortal Flower Grove. The 250 square kilometers grove was in the eastern suburb of the Imperial capital and held immortal flowers only. From above, one would see a sea of white flowers. When the wind blew, The petals looked like sifting snowflakes. It was a spectacular scene. Teenage boys and girls gathered in twos and threes and chatted happily. The scent of love was in the air. Feng Wu, on the other hand, stayed at home to cultivate. She kept Chaoga and the others at home as well. Xiao Wu, are you really not going? Chaoga asked again because she actually wanted to go herself. Feng Wu rolled her eyes at Chaoga. Why should I go? If you really want to see the immortal flowers, we can visit the grove after the festival. However, just then, beep, beep, hearing that familiar sound, Feng Wu's stomach lurched. A new trial. Feng Wu had completed the first 4 trials of the 12 trials of love. This one will be the 5th one. For some unknown reason, Feng Wu suddenly had a bad feeling. The new trial had indeed arrived, but the fairy remained silent. Her silence only caused the ominous feeling to grow. Feng Wu stared at the fairy, and the fairy cringed. The little thing looked quite pitiful. Feng Wu threw a dirty look at her and asked, "What do I have to do this time? Just tell me." The fairy said, "Promise that you won't kill me." Feng Wu rolled her eyes. "I've never laid a finger on you, okay? Are you saying that the mission is another embarrassing one?" The fairy nodded. Feng Wu's heart sank, and that bad feeling got even worse. However, Chapter 1398, Where is Jun Lin Yuan? Chapter 1398, Where is Jun Lin Yuan? All the trials so far have been ridiculous, so just tell me. What is it? The fairy said the 5th trial is, in the next 2 hours, you have to give Jun Lin Yuan a bunch of immortal flowers in front of everyone. What? Feng Wu's eyes widened, and she stared at the fairy. The fairy cringed and said, "The trial is set by the system. I have nothing to do with it. Don't blame me." Feng Wu was speechless. The implication of giving Jun Lin Yuan those flowers in public on such a special day. The thought itself made her shudder. Feng Wu looked at the fairy, and the fairy looked back at her. Feng Wu was speechless. The trials couldn't be changed after they were announced. That was to say, Feng Wu had to do it no matter what. She had to give the flowers to him in public in the next 2 hours. The requirement almost drove Feng Wu crazy. She ran for the crown prince's residence as fast as she could. As expected, Jun Lin Yuan was nowhere to be found, and Granny Gong told her, "His Royal Highness said he was going to the immortal flower grove with you." Feng Wu couldn't believe her ears. He had gone to the immortal flower grove with her? When did she agree to do that? However, the most important thing was that Jun Lin Yuan had really gone to the immortal flower grove. Feng Wu felt like screaming. That place had to be packed today. Of all the places, why did he have to go there? And she had to give him the flowers while everyone was watching. But to complete the mission, she had to go. She only had 2 hours, and time was of the essence. She didn't want to finish it at the last second like last time, so she immediately headed for the immortal flower grove. "Hey, isn't that Feng Wu?" Feng Wu heard a surprised voice as soon as she arrived at the grove. Looking up, she saw that it was none other than Mu the Sixth, Feng Sun's minion. Feng Wu realized that Mu the Sixth might have heard from Feng Sun that she wasn't coming, but she reacted quickly and grabbed him. "Mu the Sixth, where is Feng Sun?" However, Mu the Sixth was even faster. Before Feng Wu could catch him, he slipped away like a nimble fish. Feng Wu was speechless. By the time she looked again, Mu the Sixth had disappeared into the crowd. With all the people around her, she couldn't see him anywhere. Feng Wu was speechless. She couldn't wait any longer. Otherwise, it would be like the 4th trial all over again. At that thought, Feng Wu grabbed a random person and asked, "Do you know where Feng Sun is?" The teenager shook his head. "Do you know where Xianyi is then?" He still shook his head. "What about Jun Lin Yuan?" The teenager finally realized what was going on. "Are you looking for His Royal Highness?" Feng Wu nodded immediately. "Wait, you look a lot like Feng Wu." "No, you are her." The teenager cried out in surprise. Feng Wu was speechless. Before Feng Wu could reply, he yelled, "Feng Wu, are you really in love with His Royal Highness?" Feng Wu was speechless. The teenager sounded quite sorry when he said, "I didn't believe it when they said you liked him, but now that you're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel, don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."